So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with INO, KAGUYA, KUSHINA, so let's start the series. As she slumped in exhaustion, Tsunade for the first time in nearly a decade looked like her true self, that of an old woman far past her prime. She had spent the past few hours, doing her best to save the blonde on the operating table from death. It had taken nearly all of her chakra and medical prowess to save him. As she finished healing him as best as she could, she exited the operation theater to see Kakashi and Jiraiya waiting outside. Tsunade immediately activated her genjutsu to hide her age and asked Kakashi, "What the hell happened, Kakashi?" Kakashi shook his head and said, "I don't know, Tsunade-sama. By the time I reached the Valley of the End, Naruto was in Orochimaru's grasp. He had applied the 5 elemental seal on Naruto, blocking the Kyuubi's chakra from aiding him, and then gave him the curse seal. Orochimaru then absconded with Sasuke, who from the looks of it had lost to Naruto. Prior to my arrival, I prioritized saving Naruto, who looked to be on death's door, over chasing after Orochimaru, which was a futile effort. What the hell happened to Naruto? I have never seen the kid take so long to heal from an injury," Jiraiya remarked while looking at Tsunade for an answer. Tsunade shook her head in dismay as she knew that Konoha would now look weak after the defection of the last loyal Uchiha. But she also could not blame Kakashi, as she knew that he was no match for Orochimaru in combat. Also, she knew that Naruto would have been dead if he had been brought to the hospital even half an hour later. Shaking herself out of her musings, she answered Jiraiya, saying Naruto died twice on the operating table. Jiraiya, he looked to have been put through the blender. He seems to have suffered 2 fatal wounds from what looks like the Chidori, one to his shoulder and another to his right lung. He also seems to have broken his neck, but it seems to have been healed by the Kyuubi. But the Chidori wound to the lung was not completely healed, as Orochimaru's 5-element seal stopped it, and then his curse seal, which contained corrupted Senjutsu chakra, ripped apart Naruto's chakra coils before being burned out by the Kyuubi chakra in his coils. But all this stress resulted in his heart stopping to beat, Jiraiya, and the Kyuubi was released from the seal. This served as a shock and jolted Naruto's heart back to life, and the remaining Kyuubi chakra remnants in his body and the Senjutsu chakra managed to keep him alive till I healed him. Another 10 minutes and he would be permanently dead. One of the reasons he is still alive is because of the incredible durability of the Uzumaki clan members. His chakra levels have plummeted from above high Kage to elite Jounin level, and he seems to be suffering from an abundance of yang chakra, making him unable to use more than 2 shadow clones for now. And even that will be difficult till he brings a balance between his yin and yang chakra. The nature chakra remnants from the curse seal in his body healed him with my help, but his body is basically now a clone of his original body, one generated by Senjutsu chakra and Biju chakra. Also the Kyuubi cannot be resealed inside him, as now his chakra system is fully grown. Jiraiya seemed to be shocked at this declaration, as he kept muttering the Kyuubi is gone, but the prophecy underscore. Tsunade shook him out of his musings and asked, "Do you want to see him? It will take him another 2 weeks to fully heal up." Jiraiya shook his head and said, "No, Haim, I will come back later. I have something important to do now." Saying this, Jiraiya leapt out of the hospital window and vanished. Tsunade turned around to see that Kakashi also had vanished. Shizen, who was also assisting in Naruto's treatment, shook her head in disgust when she saw that not even a single person had come to see how Naruto was doing. Not even his teammate Sakura or anyone from his graduating class had come to inquire about his condition. She wondered how Naruto still felt any loyalty to these people, who didn't seem to give a damn about him. The only one who seemed to be worried about Naruto apart from herself and Tsunade seemed to be Gaara, who had remained in Konoha till he received news that Naruto was safe. It seemed that Naruto had made a good friend there. 3 weeks later, in the Hokage's office, Tsunade shook her head in disgust as she watched Naruto sparring with Iruka in the training field. Through the Sandame's crystal orb, Naruto was being tested to see if he was fit to remain a genin after his injury during the Sasuke retrieval mission. Turning towards Shizen, who was grading Naruto's written test, and asked, "How did he do on the written test, Shizen?" Shizen shook her head saying, "It is all rubbish, Tsunade-sama. I can barely even make out what he has written. I can't understand how he even passed the academy in the first place. His taijutsu skill is also in the same situation. He seems to have no technique whatsoever. His punches and kicks are sloppy. His speed and strength are subpar. His stamina also seems subpar. He seems unable to even perform the basic Academy 3 jutsu properly. I can't understand how Sarutobi-sensei allowed him to become a genin. He seems to be absolutely hopeless at the shinobi arts, Tsunade remarked. Tsunade gestured to one of the ANBU in her office and said, "Call Naruto and Irika to my office." And the ANBU sped away to obey his orders. Tsunade spent the time it took for Naruto to reach his office, cursing her sensei, and wondering what he was smoking when he allowed Naruto to become a genin. Tsunade was shook out of her musings when she saw Naruto entering her office. Tsunade hated what she was about to do, but she was determined to do it, as she was placing not only Naruto but also all the people in his team in the future in danger, if she allowed an incompetent person to become a shinobi despite her affection for him. "Hey Bachan, why did you call me?" "I was showing my awesome taijutsu skills to Irika-sensei. I was just about to beat him too," Naruto boasted while puffing out his chest. Tsunade just shook her head at his empty boasting and shouted, "Naruto, shut up and listen. I saw your fight. You have no technique whatsoever. You are a plain brawler. Your punches and kicks are sloppy. Your speed and stamina are subpar. Your strength is okay, I guess. Your command over the 3 Academy jutsu is pathetic. Your basic knowledge as displayed in your written test is pathetic. Simply saying you are not qualified to be a genin. I am sorry, Naruto, but I will have to ask you to hand over your Hitaiate. I am removing you from the shinobi forces, effective immediately." Naruto felt his entire body almost collapse in shock when he heard the Hokage's proclamation. He didn't know what to do. Being a shinobi is the only thing he knew. He couldn't even do any other job, as he knew that the civilian population either hated him or feared him. He didn't even have any source of income as he didn't have a family to support him, like his classmates. Naruto shouted back, "But Bachan, who needs all that boring information? I can fight well. You know that I defeated Niji, Gaara and even injured Kabuto, right? I even defeated Sasuke, before Orochimaru beat me and absconded with him. Please Bachan, give me a chance. I will prove that I deserve to be a shinobi." To his shock, Tsunade just shook her head, saying, "Naruto, you won all those fights only because of the Kyuubi's chakra, which you no longer have. I can't place any shinobi in danger by making them work with your inadequate skills, risking them being killed in field due to your incompetence. But I will give you one chance. I will conduct another exam in 1 month. If you pass, I will make you a genin again. But if you fail, then I am afraid that will be the end of your shinobi career. Also, I will have to stop your access to the shinobi library, as you are no longer a shinobi. But you can take the academy text to study. I am sorry, Naruto, but this for the best. Also, Naruto, I would like my necklace back. It is very valuable and many shinobi may attack you for it, and you are in no condition to defend yourself." Tsunade felt ashamed at her actions as she saw the devastated expression on his face as he handed over his Hitaiate and her grandfather's necklace to her. Tsunade addressed Naruto, last time before he left her office, saying, "Naruto, those boring books as you call them are very important. Every Hokage, including me, have a vast amount of knowledge on various shinobi and non-shinobi topics. The first Hokage was a taijutsu and kenjutsu master. He was a master of Mokuton, Suiton and Doton ninjutsu. He was a master healer. He was a sage. He was known as the god of shinobi. The second Hokage was a kenjutsu and taijutsu master. He was a master of Suiton and Raiton ninjutsu. He invented the earlier version of Haraishin, the space-time jutsu which the Yondaime later modified and which made him a terror on the battlefield. He invented the Shadow Clone Jutsu and the Edo Tensei. The Sandaime Hokage was a taijutsu and bojutsu master. He had mastered all the 5 nature releases. He knew how to use all the non-bloodline-related jutao of Konoha. He was known as the Professor and the second god of shinobi. He led Konoha to victory through 3 shinobi world wars. The Yondaime Hokage, your hero, was a master of taijutsu and shurikenjutsu. He was an unparalleled sealing master. He modified the Haraishin and became the first person to be given the SS rank in the Bingo Book and also the first to be given a flee on sight order in the Bingo Book. He single-handedly destroyed the IWA army with his Haraishin and the Rasengan. These are the people you are trying to match, Naruto. If you truly want to become the Hokage, you will have to become like them, become knowledgeable in a vast variety of topics, become a monster of a shinobi, one whom enemies fear to even utter the name of. You will have to kill hundreds of enemy shinobi in the service of your village. I know that you have never taken a life despite being a shinobi for nearly a year. I read your mission reports about how you always try to go for non-lethal blows against enemies, trying to convince them to stop fighting. Your hesitancy to end the life of an enemy may result in death of a comrade in the future. That is not something your fellow shinobi will agree with. You have the chance to reinvent yourself as a shinobi and a person, Naruto. Don't waste this chance. Not many people get such a chance. You can't only do things you like and neglect other parts. That is not how a shinobi functions. Now you are dismissed, Naruto. Use this month to prepare for the exam. Also, you will have a psychological evaluation to determine if you are fit to be a shinobi. I have made an appointment for you in 2 weeks. A few hours later, on top of the Hokage monument, Naruto sat on top of the Yandame's head. As he pondered his situation and its hopelessness, he was shook out of his musings. When he felt a soft hand on his shoulder, he turned his head to see Shizen Nei-chan looking at him with a concerned expression on her face. Naruto could no longer hide his frustration, disappointment, and sadness and hugged her tightly, bawling his eyes out. Shizen just held him tightly and rubbed soothingly on his back. What is the matter, Naruto-kun? I know that what Tsunade-sama did and said was harsh, but it was the best for everyone. She couldn't risk the life of other shinobi partnered with you, if your skills are not up to scratch. But, you have 1 month to bring your skills up to scratch. You should not waste this opportunity. And you must not waste your time moping. From what I hear, that is your teammate Sasuke's role, so, cheer up and go train, Shizen said, trying to encourage him. She couldn't bear to see the bright, always cheerful blonde she had come to see as her little brother in such a sorry state. Naruto hiccuped due to his tears and said, Nei-chan, I don't know how to read properly. They never taught me in the orphanage. I taught myself how to read and write, as best as I could. The taijutsu technique that Bachan said was useless and incorrect was what the academy instructors taught me in the academy. Even the kawarimi and henge, I learned on my own by watching them perform it. The instructors used to send me out of the class during all the important classes. Even though I hadn't done anything, that was when I started pranking people, thinking that if I was going to be punished anyway, then I would make sure that the punishment would be for something I had actually done. And this way I could get back at some of my tormentors. Shizen looked on in horror as Naruto told her the reason for his poor performance in the academy. She couldn't believe that the Sandaime allowed this to go on. Why didn't you tell this to the Sandaime, Naruto? I complained to the Sandaime a few times, but he just said that I have to study harder, and believed all the lies told by the academy instructors. Even Iruka-sensei, despite not treating me like a monster, never bothered to help me out in my studies. After leaving Bachan's office, I went to Kakashi to ask for his help in training myself, but he brushed me off as usual, saying that he could not train me as I was no longer a genin. As if he trained me when I was on his team. The only thing Kakashi ever taught me was the tree walking exercise, whereas Kakashi taught Sasuke how to use the Chidori and many Katon Jutsu, whereas leaving me and Sakura to our own devices, telling us to focus on the basics while he exclusively trained Sasuke. Even Jiraiya abandoned me, saying that he had to attend to his spy network and that I no longer had to fear any danger from the Akatsuki as I no longer held the Kyuubi, proving that the only thing he cared about me was harnessing the Kyuubi's power. Even when I held the Kyuubi, the only thing he taught me was the Rasengan, even that he only showed me each step once, and left me to work it out on my own, without giving any clues on how to do it. To learn how to use the summoning contract of the toads, he pushed me down a ravine to force me to use the Kyuubi's chakra. All the other Jounin sensei, including Guy, declined to help me, saying that they had their own genin to train. My so-called friends said that they had their own training to attend to, so they couldn't help me. My teammate Sakura didn't even ask how I was, after staying for 2 weeks in the hospital from injuries. All she cared was that I couldn't bring back Sasuke. I don't know what else to do, Nei-chan. Even Tsunade Bachan refused to help me, saying that it would be favoritism. Shizen hugged Naruto and slowly soothed him, while in her mind she was cursing everyone as couldn't believe the atrocious behavior exhibited by Kakashi, Jiraiya and the other Jounin sensei and genin. Shizen made up her mind, and with a firm nod to herself, she said, Naruto, from tomorrow onwards, I will train you for the next month. Come meet me in training ground 43 tomorrow morning at 5. I will make sure that you are more than ready to become a genin by the month's end. But I want your word that you will do your best to follow all my instructions. Naruto exclaimed happily and said, You have my promise, Nei-chan. I will do my best. Thank you for agreeing to help me. Love you, Nei-chan. Naruto scampered off after hugging Shizen tightly one more time. Seeing the wide happy smile on Naruto's face at her offer of help, Shizen couldn't contain her own wide smile and said out aloud, "I will not let you down like all the others, Otoro. I will do my best to help you become the best shinobi you can. You did a very good thing, Shizen. I would have trained him myself, but the council will whine and complain about favoritism. If he passes the test, I will train him myself and take him as my apprentice." "Take care of him, Shizen," said Tsunade, who had happened upon the talk between Naruto and Shizen. She was disgusted by the actions of Kakashi, Jiraiya and the instructors at the academy. She was also feeling ashamed at the inaction of her sensei in regards to Naruto, and decided to train Naruto herself if he passed the test. Shizen turned around to address her master, whom she had already sensed, and said, "I will train him and will make sure to get him up to scratch, my lady." Naruto's apartment. Naruto entered his apartment, and saw the mess inside his apartment. He knew that he could no longer continue as he was. He also realized that he couldn't afford to rely on any of his classmates for help. In the future, both his sensei, Kakashi and Jiraiya had abandoned him in his time of need. He could only rely on himself and Shizen Nichin's help to pass the test. Naruto vowed to himself that he would prove to everyone who thought that he was nothing without the help of the Kyuubi, that even without the Kyuubi he could become great. He would prove to Bachan that the confidence that she placed in him when she gave him her necklace was not misplaced. He would be known as Naruto Uzumaki and not as just the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. But first he would have to change everything about himself if he wanted to gain the power to achieve his dream of becoming Hokage, and keep his promise to Sakura-chan to bring back Sasuke. Naruto quickly went about cleaning his apartment, and threw out the trash. He found his old academy textbooks underneath a cupboard, and dusted them and placed them on his dining table. He quickly took a bath and spent 2 hours struggling through a text on geography of the elemental nations. It was while reading through his textbook that he realized that some pages were missing. He immediately knew that it was the work of the academy instructors who didn't want the Kyuubi Jinchuriki to become a shinobi and therefore sabotaged his education by giving him damaged textbooks and taught him wrong taijutsu techniques and sent him out of the class when important topics were discussed in class. He was not even in a position to borrow the textbook from anyone as he had no one who would have helped him during his academy years, and the academy instructors knew this and took advantage of it. As even the Sandaime Hokage always took their word over his, Naruto decided to ask Shizen Nichin for complete textbooks of the academy the next day morning and went to bed after brushing his teeth, as he needed to be at training ground 43 the next day morning. As the entire population of Konoha except the ANBU patrolling the village was in a deep sleep, a sudden blaring sound of an alarm rang out, and a 13-year-old boy in a run-down apartment shut it down and got up grumbling to himself. Naruto got up at the first ring of the alarm itself, as he wanted to be on time and not disappoint Shizen Nichin. Naruto went about completing his morning routine, got dressed in his signature orange jumpsuit, and quickly rushed to the training ground Nichin mentioned. After locking his apartment behind him, Naruto reached training ground 43, which was located just beside the Forest of Death, and saw that the training ground looked to be in a dilapidated condition. It didn't look like anyone regularly used this training ground, as Naruto had arrived early and there was still time for his Nichin to arrive. Naruto decided not to waste time and immediately took to running rounds around the training ground at his full speed for as long as he could. He had read that this would help in increasing both his speed as well as stamina. It was nearly half an hour into his training that Shizen arrived and was happy to see that Naruto had arrived early and was not wasting time and instead had started training. "Naruto, good job, now come here and take rest for a few minutes, then I want you to spar with me, so that I can get an idea on what and how to train you," Shizen said, interrupting Naruto's run around the ground. Naruto gladly sank into a relaxed posture on the ground and greedily gulped in the oxygen. He was starting to feel a burning sensation in his leg and thigh muscles. He couldn't believe how easily he had tired without the chakra of the Kyuubi, which used to be sealed inside him, and whose chakra used to provide him with a lot of stamina and used to heal him quickly. After 5 minutes, enough rest, Naruto, now come at me with the intent to kill, Shizen Nichin said. What followed was a brutal beatdown of Naruto, as Shizen countered his every move with ease and every mistake he made resulted in a painful bruise on his body. All the while she ran a commentary on every mistake he made and how to avoid them. Naruto never imagined that his kind Nichin could be so ruthless. Naruto also realized how over-reliant he had become on the shadow clone jutsu. His fighting style consisted of basically spamming shadow clones and rushing the enemy, and even that was not enough against skilled enemies, as the shadow clones were basically copies of the original and dispelled after one solid hit. But now that he couldn't use the shadow clones, except maybe one, he found that he didn't have much else in his arsenal. Even the Rasengan couldn't be used, as Naruto had not learned how to use it without the help of shadow clones. After 5 minutes, Naruto finally collapsed on the ground, unable to continue any longer. Seeing Naruto's condition, Shizen also stopped. Naruto was shocked to see that while he had all but collapsed, Shizen Neichan had not even broken a sweat from their earlier spar, and he finally understood the massive difference in skill between him and his Neichan, who was a Jounin. He didn't even want to imagine the difference in skill level and power between himself and Tsunade Bachan. He was sure that she would pulverize him within the first few seconds of the spar with a single punch. As Naruto regained his breath, Shizen went over everything she had observed in their spar and wrote down a schedule for Naruto to follow for the next month. She gave it to him and said, "This will be your schedule for the next month. I expect you to strictly follow it." Naruto looked at the paper, and his schedule read as follows: 4:30 am to 8:30 am, physical conditioning and taijutsu practice. 9:00 am to 1:00 p.m. chakra control practice and meditation. 2:00 p.m. to 4:00 p.m. ninjutsu practice and genjutsu detection and dispelling. 4:00 p.m. to 8:00 p.m. taijutsu practice and weapons throwing practice. 9:00 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. miscellaneous practice. And Naruto, in addition to this, you will make a shadow clone every day morning in your apartment. It will keep studying a list of books I will give you, that I want you to know by heart by the end of the month. The first few days, a shadow clone of mine will help your clone in reading, and once I am satisfied with your reading ability, your clone will keep on reading by itself. You will dispel it only while you are going to bed. Naruto shook his head in confusion and asked Neichan, "But what is the use of my clone learning to read and write properly and reading all those books? I will not learn anything that way, will I?" Shizen just smiled and said, "Naruto-kun, once a shadow clone dispels, the original gets back the memories of the clone, including the unused chakra from the clone. So it is great to train things such as chakra control, reading, writing, taijutsu katas, etc. But physical conditioning will have to be done by original body. But it is best to use a maximum of 10 shadow clones at once, as the more clones you create, the stupider they become, as your chakra becomes equally divided between them, and those clones use chakra as their brains, as they don't have actual brains, and the less chakra in them the more stupid they become. So for intellectual purposes, it is best to use no more than 10 shadow clones at once. For combat purposes that is not a problem." Naruto then asked, "But what is the use of meditation, Neichan?" "Naruto-kun, you have an issue with the balance of your chakra. You have an excess of yang chakra, which makes you hyperactive and unable to sit still for a long time, which in turn affects your attention span and concentration. Meditation helps in increasing your yin chakra reserves and also helps in teaching you patience, which is essential for a ninja. It also helps you focus on a topic and increases your attention span. So, it is very important. Increased yin chakra reserves helps you in casting genjutsu, which is a very important branch of the shinobi arts." Naruto nodded his head and said, "I promise you that I will follow this schedule properly." To Bayo, "Naruto, create a shadow clone and send it to your apartment. My shadow clone will be waiting for it with a few books I sent it to collect for you. Meanwhile, I will be training you in taijutsu." Naruto nodded his head and, making a cross sign with his fingers, created a shadow clone and sent it to his apartment with instructions to strictly follow Shizen Neichan's orders. Naruto suddenly remembered something and said, "Neichan, yesterday night I was reading an academy book on the geography of the elemental nations, and a lot of pages were missing from the book that the academy instructors gave me. The same is the case with the other textbooks also." Shizen controlled her anger at the academy instructors with a lot of effort, as she badly wanted to introduce them to what a pissed-off medical ninja can do. She couldn't believe the gall of those people to sabotage the education of an innocent child. Barely managing to control herself, Shizen instead just smiled at Naruto and said, "Don't worry, Naruto. I will get you a new copy of the academy textbooks to read. Now I will show you the most important part of taijutsu, you will ever learn. Naruto couldn't contain his excitement on hearing this and nearly shouted, "What is it, Nachan? What super cool technique are you going to teach me? I will learn it quickly and use it to defeat Sasuke and bring him back to Bail. Is it the gate Stingly uses?" Naruto kept on rambling, only to be cut off as Shizen simply replied, "Nothing of the sort. I will be teaching you how to punch and kick properly. That makes up more than 50% of taijutsu. How and when to punch and kick. The way you are currently throwing your punches and kicks is absolutely horrendous. You are wasting a lot of energy, and your blows are not packing much of a punch." Naruto's sweat dropped as he heard what he was going to learn, but decided to suck it up and do as he was told. Naruto watched as Shizen Nachan showed him how to properly execute different types of basic punches and kicks with minimum effort exerted and achieving maximum impact on the target. He silently cursed the academy instructors and decided to follow his Nichan's movements as perfectly as possible. Shizen watched from the sidelines as Naruto repeated all the movements she had shown him and corrected his movements when required. When she was sure that he had all the movements down pat, she called for his attention and said, "Naruto, now I will show you the correct way to throw shuriken and kunai, and then I will have to leave to start my work, so watch closely." She then demonstrated the correct way to throw kunai and shuriken and then corrected his movements. "You have got the throwing motion down correct, but your accuracy is atrocious. But now that your throwing technique is correct, the accuracy will increase with practice. You continue to practice in the time allocated to shuriken jutsu in your schedule. I want you to bring your accuracy to 100% by the month's end when targeting moving targets, and not just stationary targets. But for now, practice on the stationary targets in the training ground." As it was time for her to get to work, Shizen took out a sealing scroll from the inner pocket of her jacket, and unsealed a set of training weights from it. She gave them to Naruto and said, "Naruto, these are a set of arm and leg weights for you to use. They range from 5 kilograms to 100 kilograms on each arm and leg. I want you to do your physical conditioning and taijutsu practice and everything wearing these weights. Only remove them while you are in the bathroom or while you are sleeping. I want you to progress to at least 60 kilograms by the month's end, while you no longer have the QB sealed inside you to heal you rapidly. Your healing factor is still very high, and your muscles will heal quite quickly from the muscle tears due to the strain and making your muscles more strong, and your speed and strength will increase rapidly." Naruto immediately put on the arm and leg weights of 5 kilograms each on his arms and legs and immediately felt the strain on his arms and legs. As Naruto got used to the weights, Shizen said, "Naruto, I want you to do 50 rounds of the training ground and 100 push-ups, squats, pull-ups and jumping jacks. I also want you to do 50 rounds of Surya Namaskar, as yoga will make sure that your body remains flexible. After that, take a break for 15 minutes and then I want you to practice all the punches and kicks I showed you on the wooden training posts, with 100 repetitions of each. I want those movements to be engraved into your muscle memory and become instinctive. I will come back in 2 hours to check on your progress, and I will bring you breakfast. I don't want to see you slacking off. Is that clear? Or else I will decide on a suitable punishment for you," Shizen warned Naruto, releasing a bit of her killing intent to make sure that he got it into his head that she meant business. Naruto rapidly nodded his head and immediately set to work on his physical conditioning and started running around the ground at the max speed that he could with the new weights on his body, which was not more than that of a light sprint. Seeing this, Shizen called out, "Naruto, the trick making your body get used to the weights is that you pump chakra to your legs to increase your speed, and when you are comfortably moving at your full speed, decrease the amount of chakra that you are channeling, till you are able to move at your full speed even with the weights on and with no chakra enhancement. Constantly channeling your chakra like that will increase your chakra reserves as well as your chakra control." Saying this, Shizen vanished in a standard leaf shunshin. Naruto saw this and continued on his run around the ground, as he followed his Nichan's advice and pumped chakra to his limbs and immediately felt a little ease in running and even felt a little increase in his speed. Determined to complete the task Shizen Nachan set him, Naruto determinedly continued on his task. 2 hours later, training ground 43. Shizen returned after 2 hours, after completing her morning rounds in the hospital, and to her delight, found Naruto panting and sweating heavily, but still continuing to do his taijutsu practice. He was doing continuous repetitions of the different punches and kicks she had shown him. Shizen kept watching Naruto's practice, and after nearly 15 minutes, he finally collapsed on the ground and pumped his fists with difficulty, shouting out hoarsely, "I did it, Tibeo!" Shizen chuckled slowly and Naruto suddenly turned around to see that Shizen Neichan had arrived. "Did you see, Neichan? I did as you told me to. I did it, Tibeo." "Indeed, well done, Naruto. Now come here and let me look at your knuckles. They seem to have been split open from punching the wooden posts repeatedly, and are bleeding badly." Shizen took both his hands into her hands and healed the split open and bleeding knuckles. She also used the Shosen Jutsu to relieve some of his muscle fatigue. Shizen then handed him one of the 2 breakfast boxes she had brought with her. It consisted of meatballs. "Ah, Neichan, why didn't you bring ramen?" Naruto whined. "From today onwards, you will strictly follow a diet plan I will prepare for you. You need plenty of protein for your body, to sustain it during your strenuous training and also for muscle development and height growth. Eating too much ramen is bad for your health. And I also want you to change your attire. Bright orange is not a suitable color for shinobi to wear," Shizen sternly said. Naruto looked down at his feet embarrassedly and quietly mumbled, "But no other restaurant, other than Ichiraku's, will allow me to eat there, and the grocery shops always overcharge me. Those instant ramen cups are all I can afford on a genin's salary, as I also have to pay my apartment rent as well as the water and electricity bill. Almost all the stores in Konoha overcharge me or sell me spoiled goods, Neichan, and this orange jumpsuit is the only shinobi outfit that one of the shopkeepers agreed to sell to me, and even this is overcharged. I even complained to Hokage Jiji, but he didn't do anything. I don't know what else to do." Naruto sniffled softly in sadness. Shizen looked ready to murder someone. She heard slight whimpering and looked to see Naruto slightly shaking in fear from the killing intent she had been unintentionally releasing. Getting her killing intent back under control, she slowly approached Naruto and hugged him and said, "Shh, sweetheart, I am not angry at you. Now, you don't have to worry about that. I will give you a set of kunai and shuriken from Higurashi Shinobi store. You can go there for any future purchase of shinobi items. It is run by a former jounin, so he won't discriminate against you. As for new clothes, we will buy them at the end of the month, as you may have a growth spurt due to all the training you are going to do. For the next month, you are going to be having your meals with me and I will also teach you basic cooking." Naruto cried in happiness and hugged her tightly. No one had ever taken such care of him. Even the old man Hokage never took care of him like this. He just used to visit him once a month and treat him to ramen. Naruto and Shizen then got down to having their breakfast, and later Shizen showed Naruto how to do the leaf sticking exercise. "Naruto, the first chakra control exercise I want you to do is the leaf sticking exercise. You stick a leaf to your forehead using your chakra and keep it like that as long as you can, till such a time as you can do that without conscious thought. For the next 3 hours I want you to do that, and if you think you have mastered it, try sticking multiple leaves to various parts of your body. But after 3 hours, I want you to practice meditation for an hour." And then showed him the correct posture to do meditation, and showed him how to concentrate on his breath while he meditates, in order to not let his attention wander while he meditates. Shizen then left to go to her office in the Hokage Tower, and Naruto carefully placed a leaf on his forehead and channeled chakra to his forehead. The leaf blew away the first 10 times, but slowly Naruto managed to channel exactly the amount of chakra required to stick the leaf to his forehead. And when the leaf was finally stuck to his forehead, Naruto started reading a book on anatomy that Shizen Neichan had given him. It gave detailed explanations about the various parts of the human body along with pictures about the placement of the various parts of the body. It also talked about the most vulnerable parts of the body and which wounds were fatal. It also talked about 8 most vulnerable parts of the body, where a blow from the enemy would be fatal. They were the brain, larynx, heart, lungs, spine, liver, kidneys, and spleen. At first it took a lot of effort for Naruto to be able to keep the leaf stuck to his forehead, while he simultaneously, and it took him nearly an hour to get the hang of it. By the time the 3 hours allotted to his chakra control training came to an end, he didn't even have to pay any attention to the leaf on his forehead in order to make sure it remained stuck. Naruto had even added another leaf to his forehead, but he had not yet mastered that part yet. As Naruto looked at the clock Shizen Neichan had given him, he closed the book and sat down in the Seiza posture with his legs crossed over and his hands placed on his thighs, with palms facing skywards. At first Naruto couldn't even sit still for more than 5 minutes straight, before he started fidgeting. He started to question the usefulness of this and was about to get up and work some more on his taijutsu, when he remembered his promise to Shizen Neichan, and sat down immediately. he suddenly remembered how Nachan told him to focus on his breathing. It took a few more tries, but Naruto finally managed to calm his restless energy and sit still in silence as he was completely focused on his breathing, and was lost to the outside world. It was to this scene that Shizen walked into the training ground. As she brought lunch for both herself and Naruto, she was surprised at how still and calmly Naruto was sitting and meditating. For someone who was so hyperactive, he sure got the hang out meditation quite fast. Naruto finally opened his eyes after what felt like many hours and felt himself completely relaxed. He saw Shizen Nachan looking at him proudly, as she said, "You seem to have gotten down the principle behind meditation quite well, keep it up." Naruto blushed at her praise as he was not used to anyone ever praising him. As Naruto told Shizen about his chakra control practice, she was pleased with his efforts in chakra control as well as multitasking, as knowing about the human anatomy was very important for a shinobi. She instructed him to focus on hitting all the 8 vital points on a training dummy during his shuriken jutsu practice. After lunch, Shizen said, "Naruto-kun, for the first 2 weeks, we will focus more on your academy ninjutsu. We practice genjutsu detection and dispelling after you have a decent grasp on your chakra. I first want you to perfect the 3 academy jutsu, especially the kawarimi, as it is a very important jutsu and will most probably save your life many times. If mastered, then we will focus on the henge. Finally, we will focus on the basic illusionary clone jutsu, after you have gotten tree walking down pat." Shizen then created a shadow clone and said, "My clone will assess your ninjutsu, as I have to get back to the hospital." Saying this, Shizen vanished in a shunshin. The shadow clone told Naruto to perform all the basic academy jutsu, as he was doing as told. She observed that Naruto was forming the hand signs very slowly, and so of the hand signs he was using were not exactly correctly. Deciding to first make him use the correct hand signs and increase the speed of his hand signs before making him increase his proficiency in the use of the 3 basic academy jutsu. She made him go through all the basic 12 hand signs and corrected him when he went wrong. She used rubber bands to increase the dexterity of his fingers by using them while Naruto makes the hand signs, thereby increasing the difficulty in making the hand signs, and making the fingers more flexible, strong, dexterous and nimble due to the tensile strength of the rubber band acting against the movement of the fingers. She had Naruto practice this for the next 2 hours. Then it was time for shuriken jutsu practice, where he threw kunai and shuriken at the practice targets, which were in the shape of a person and had the 8 vital spots marked in red paint. And Naruto tried to hit a vital spot with each throw. Naruto practiced throwing with both his hands on Shizen's suggestion, as one hand may be injured and he should not be hampered by his injury. After doing shuriken jutsu practice for 2 hours, Naruto repeated the physical conditioning and taijutsu practice he had done in the morning. Then, it was time for dinner with Shizen Nachan at her house. He had never been to her house before. She lived in a simple house in the Senju compound. Naruto was overwhelmed when Shizen Nachan asked him to come to her house for dinner. No one had ever invited Naruto to their house for dinner before, not even the old man Hokage. After dinner, Naruto tightly hugged his Nachan and said, "Thank you for helping me and for taking care of me so much, Nachan." And then, Naruto departed to his house and found his shadow clone studying a book on basic mathematics. Naruto set his clone to work on the leaf-sticking exercise, while he practiced increasing his hand seal-making speed. After another 2 hours, Naruto brushed his teeth and dispelled his clone and nearly collapsed due to the memory download from his clone. Naruto quickly fell asleep after he assimilated all that the clone had learned from morning onwards. He learned that Shizen Nachan had helped him in reading through the big words that he couldn't understand in the books. She had also given him a dictionary and a thesaurus to look up the words he couldn't understand when she was not present, while he was reading. His clone had spent most of the day learning basic mathematics from Shizen Nachan. His clone had also read a book detailing the poisonous plants found in Fire Country, and their antidotes, and another book about the edible plants found in the Fire Nation. The first was useful in making antidotes and poisons. The second book was useful in camping while on missions. After assimilating all the memories, Naruto quickly fell asleep after removing his weights. He set his alarm clock for 4:00 a.m. in the morning. The next morning found Naruto back in training ground 43 at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, doing his exercises and yoga with his weights on, and as his body had gotten a little more comfortable with the weights, He had increased the repetitions of each exercise and even added some exercises like crunches, bicycle crunches and skipping. He did a 100 repetitions of each exercise and 300 for skipping. As skipping helped him become light on his feet and also in becoming more nimble, he increased his rounds around the ground to 70 from the 50 he ran the previous day. As Naruto finished his physical conditioning, he immediately did the stretching exercises Shizune-chan had taught him yesterday, in order to make sure that his muscles didn't cramp after intense exercise. After cooling down from his exercise routine, Naruto immediately got down to practicing his punches and kicks on a wooden post, and he even incorporated blows using his elbows and knees against the training post. Naruto also increased the number of repetitions of each type of blow from 100 to 150. It was almost 7:30 and by the time this was finished and Shizune-chan arrived and healed his bleeding knuckles, elbows and knees, Shizune healed his injuries and said, "Naruto, remind me to teach you to bandage your fists during your taijutsu practice? That will prevent your knuckles from bleeding quite that badly. Now it is time for your evasion practice. For the next 1 hour, you will try to dodge all my blows," she said, and immediately started attacking him with her taijutsu at Chunin speed, and not at her full speed, so as to not overwhelm him. As Naruto struggled to dodge her blows, she said, "Naruto, try to dodge my blows with minimal body movements. That way you can minimize your energy expenditure. Your natural strength is very good. So I want your taijutsu to based around dodging and redirecting your enemy's blows. While you counter-attack with deadly lethal blows, your every movement should be clinical with little no energy wastage. Also, the first rule taijutsu is to never be predictable, especially against dojutsu users, so I won't be teaching you a set taijutsu style. I will be teaching you various taijutsu moves, but it will depend on you to incorporate it into your fighting depending on the situation, as your opponent can't predict your moves if you yourself don't know what move you will be using till the last moment. I want your taijutsu to be instinctive and not be rigid bases on a set of katas. I want you to focus on targeting the pressure points and vital spots on your opponent's body while fighting. This is basically the essence of the type of taijutsu fighter I want you to become, and I know that you will become a frontline fighter, so I want you to conserve as much energy as possible during all your movements, as you no longer have the QB to boost your chakra reserves and replenish them quickly. Use the various moves I teach you to come up various taijutsu combinations on your own." Naruto listened carefully to what his Nei-chan was saying and agreed. As in the fight against Sasuke, he noticed that Sasuke seemed to be reading his movements like an open book. The only times he landed a blow on Sasuke was when Naruto was faster than Sasuke's reaction speed, so he knew that his taijutsu needed to be unpredictable, and his speed much faster than Sasuke if he was to have any hope of defeating Sasuke and bringing him back to the village. But despite his best efforts, Naruto couldn't dodge more than 25% of Shizune's blows aimed at him and was badly bruised by the end of the hour. He couldn't even follow most of her blows initially, but his eyes eventually adjusted to the high speed she was moving at and he managed to dodge a few of her blows at the end. He could have dodged so more of her blows, but she told him to dodge only using the least movement of his body possible, like swaying slightly out of the line of a blow, just sidestepping a blow, etc. Naruto was extremely disappointed by his poor performance, but Shizune didn't share his disappointment, and instead said, "Naruto, you don't have anything to be disappointed about. I was moving at mid-chunin speeds but you still dodged nearly a quarter of my blows. That is very good for your first day. But by the time the 1 month is over, I want you to be able to dodge at least a quarter of my blows as I move at high chunin speed, while you are wearing at least 50 kilograms of weight on all your limbs." Then they had breakfast, and as Shizune-chan left, Naruto started his chakra control training. He kept 3 leaves stuck to his forehead as he went through his taijutsu practice, as he decided to focus on his taijutsu practice instead of reading a book like yesterday. He created a shadow clone whose sole task was throwing blunt kunai at him at his maximum speed, and he tried to dodge them while still keeping the leaves stuck to his forehead. It proved to be extremely difficult, and required splitting his concentration to be split in many directions at once. But he eventually got the hang of it by the end of another 2 hours, and by the time it was time for his meditation, he had another 2 leaves stuck to his body, one on each arm after he ripped apart the sleeves of his jumpsuit. For the next 1 hour, Naruto meditated, all the while keeping the 5 leaves stuck to his body without any conscious effort on his part. The meditation restored his chakra levels. It also removed the mental fatigue caused by concentrating on various things at once, something which he was not used to. By then it was time for lunch, and Shizen Nei-chan had arrived and first checked on the progress of his chakra control training. Shizen was very impressed with the progress of Naruto's chakra control training, and especially the way Naruto modified it to make it more difficult, as well increased the time Naruto was now spending on his taijutsu, without neglecting his chakra control training at the same time. It seemed that the removal of the kyubi had improved his grasp on his chakra. This is good, Naruto. I want you to go up to having 10 leaves stuck to various parts of your body at the same time, while you are practicing taijutsu. Then I will start you on a modified version of the leaf sticking exercise. Now enough about training, let's have lunch. Then I want you to work on the dexterity of your fingers for half an hour, and the rest of the time allotted for your ninjutsu practice to perfect your kawarimi. I want you to work on increasing the speed at which you perform the kawarimi. I want you to make it nearly instantaneous by the month's end while using only a single hand seal. And I don't want to see a puff of smoke when you perform the kawarimi. By the month's end, it should be instantaneous, with no smoke to indicate the use of a kawarimi. If you can do that by the month's end, I will teach you the shunshin. Naruto leapt up at that and declared, just you watch, Nei-chan. I will get it done in 15 days, Tebeo. Shizen laughed at his enthusiasm and said, you managed to do that, and I will teach you another extra jutsu in addition to the shunshin. Naruto immediately got up after having lunch and got to work on the dexterity of his fingers. He was not going to miss out the chance to learn super cool jutsu, Tebeo. Naruto found that it was taking a lot of effort to make any improvement in his kawarimi jutsu, so Naruto came up with a crazy idea and created a shadow clone, and ordered it to throw blunted kunai at him at increasing speeds, and he would dodge only using kawarimi. This way he could learn to chain together multiple kawarimi, and also use it to move all over the battlefield. Shizen Nei-chan had said that the best way to perfect a technique was to use it in combat, so that is what he would do, and he would master the kawarimi Tebeo. Naruto still stuck 6 leaves on various parts of his body. While doing this new exercise, Naruto had removed his shirt, to prevent the leaves from getting stuck to his shirt instead of to his body. It took Naruto nearly an hour, just to perform a single kawarimi, while still keeping the leaves stuck to his body, let alone chaining together multiple kawarimi, or let alone dodging projectiles using only kawarimi, while still keeping the leaves stuck to him. By the time another hours passed, Naruto managed to chain together continuous substitutions, with the leaves attached to his body, while Naruto's shadow clone worked on chaining together multiple substitutions as he could. There were still many problems with his kawarimi. It still generated a considerable amount of smoke, which was basically excess chakra wasted in the jutsu, but that would improve as Naruto's chakra control improves. But Naruto was happy that he had managed to chain together 10 to 15 substitutions in a row, before it took a toll on him, but he was still being disoriented due to the continuous substitutions. But the only solution for that was continuous practice. For the next 2 hours, Naruto resumed his physical training routine as well as taijutsu practice and evasion practice, all the while keeping 10 leaves attached to his body. He had finally managed to have 10 leaves attached to various parts of his body at once. Naruto also spent 2 hours practicing his shuriken jutsu. He managed to hit the bullseye, or the vital spot he was aiming at, on the targets 70% of the time, which was a major improvement, as earlier he couldn't even hit it half of the time. As Naruto wrapped up his shuriken jutsu practice, he heard clapping and turned around to see Shizen Nei-chan was standing behind him with a smile on his face and was clapping. Very good, Naruto. You have improved massively in 2 days. Keep this up and I will make sure that you are at least low Chunin level by the time your Genin exam comes around, Shizen said with clear pride in her voice at Naruto's improvement and single-minded determination. Naruto blushed and scratched the back of his head and said, When did you get here, Nei-chan? I have been standing here for the last 10 minutes, Naruto. We will have to work on your situational awareness and try to make you develop some form of sensory skill, as you can't let enemies sneak up on you like this. The concept is similar to meditation, so we will incorporate it into your schedule and practice it along with your meditation. But for now it is time for dinner. Let's go to my house. After dinner, as Naruto was about to return to his apartment, he remembered something and asked Shizen, Nei-chan, using weights for my arms is becoming cumbersome. Is there no other way to use it? Shizen thought for a few minutes and said, Wait here for a few minutes, Naruto. I should have a pair of chakra weights in my house. You can place them on your legs. They are much easier to use and remove than the regular weights. But I will control them till you at least have mastered water walking. We don't want you to accidentally crush your muscles by increasing the weights more than necessary by accidentally channeling more chakra than required. Once you have mastered tree walking, I will hand over the control of the chakra weights to you. For now, I have adjusted them to 10 kilograms for each leg, as you have said that now you can move at your top speed, even while wearing the weights for 5 kilograms, without any issues. As for your arms, it is not advisable to wear weights for them, but I have some chakra-enhanced dumbbells with me. Use them in some exercises I will be teaching you to increase your upper body and arm strength, especially your biceps, triceps, shoulders and abdomen region. I want you to work on some core strengthening exercises from tomorrow, as they will help you in keeping your balance. Also, I want you to spend 1 hour a day practicing the taijutsu moves I have taught you, while standing on top of the narrow poles in training ground 43. This will drastically increase your sense of balance and make you more agile. Also, I want you to swim for at least an hour every day in the small river that flows outside of training ground 40, against the flow of the water, as this will work on developing another group of muscles. Naruto blushed embarrassedly and ducked his head down and said, "Nei-chan, I don't know how to swim. The academy instructors never taught us," saying that the students should learn it from their parents. Shizen shook her head in dismay and muttered some very uncomplimentary words about the academy instructors, but eventually controlled herself and said, "Don't worry, Naruto. I will teach you tomorrow morning. Remember to bring a pair of swimming shorts with you when you come to the training ground tomorrow. Now off you go." Naruto returned to training ground 43 and climbed up the long poles. Each pole had only enough space for one person to stand comfortably on top of it. Naruto spent the first hour performing 50 repetitions of various punches and kicks, and he spent the next hour jumping from one pole to another, or just slightly swaying out of the way of blunted kunai thrown at him by his clone. During this, Naruto fell many times from the poles, but managed to land lightly on his feet. After performing flips in the air, it was especially difficult with his increased weights on his legs. Finally, Naruto was tired and he returned to his apartment and brushed his teeth, showered and dispelled his shadow clone in the apartment, and spent 15 minutes assimilating its memories. It had spent most of the day learning basic mathematics and science. It had also spent many hours improving his handwriting, after Shizen Nei-chan had strictly told him to work on his handwriting, as she told him that perfect handwriting and calligraphy was a prerequisite for learning Fuinjutsu, something Naruto had found a great interest in after learning about the great Fuinjutsu masters belonging to the Uzumaki clan, who were so feared that 3 great shinobi nations banded together to destroy Yuzu. He had read about it in an old history book Shizen Nei-chan had given him about the history of all shinobi nations, both big and small. Naruto had cried for nearly an hour straight when he had read about how his clan had been massacred, but had been proud to read that almost the entire invading force had been slaughtered by the Uzumaki clan in retaliation. He had promised himself to work even harder and become a Fuinjutsu master in order to make his ancestors proud. He particularly wanted to learn how to use the famous Haraishin of the Yondaime Hokage, and that required Naruto to be a Fuinjutsu master. Finally, Naruto came out of his recollections as he was too tired and couldn't keep his eyes open any longer, and promptly dozed off after setting his alarm clock for 4 o'clock in the morning. Naruto finally finished assimilating the memories of his clone and found that he was able to easily understand the maths and science problems with Shizen Nei-chan's clone patiently explaining the concepts to him and clarifying his doubts, instead of brushing him off like the academy instructors. The next day's training went according to schedule, but Naruto made some changes. He had a shadow clone of his practicing the next stage of chakra control, which was moving the 10 leaves along his body in the direction of his chakra flow. For this, Naruto had his shadow clone meditate to discover the direction of flow of his chakra, which turned out to be anti-clockwise. He then had his clone combine meditation with his new chakra control exercise. This improved his chakra control as well as made him very familiar with the nature of his own chakra, as Naruto had his clone immerse his consciousness with his chakra and simply flow throughout his body along with his chakra, not doing anything, simply moving along and getting familiar with the feel of his chakra. It felt rich and dense. One shadow clone of his cousin continued to do this throughout the day, while another shadow clone of his went through hand seal speed practice. Naruto solely worked on the physical aspects of his training like physical conditioning, taijutsu practice and also kawarimi practice as, even though shadow clones could practice the kawarimi, as they were chakra constructs, they would soon dispel, as soon as the shadow clone ran out of chakra. So it was not much use in practicing chaining together multiple kawarimi, as it would soon run out of chakra. On the other hand, a shadow clone could do basic chakra control exercises for almost half a day before dispelling, which then Naruto replaced with a new one. Naruto could now create 2 shadow clones at once, and he recovered his chakra within half an hour, which he then used to create another 2 shadow clones. But he remembered Shizen Nichin's warning to not use more than 10 shadow clones at once to work on different topics, so he allotted 2 shadow clones to work on his academics, 5 shadow clones to work on his chakra control, and 1 shadow clone worked on helping him with his evasion exercises, both only physically and also during the time when he only used kawarimi to escape the projectiles thrown at him by his clone. As Naruto spent most of his time on his taijutsu, shurikenjutsu and physical conditioning, he found that he improved by leaps and bounds by the end of the first week in those areas. He had increased his leg weights to 30 kilograms each. He could now hit the bullseye or any other spot he was targeting on a stationary target, with pinpoint accuracy, while he was standing or even while he was moving. Next came working on his aim on moving targets. He had incorporated a lot more exercises into his physical conditioning, as now he had a lot more time to spend on it. As he delegated most of his chakra training to his shadow clones, he also started intense cardio and core strengthening exercises, as well as an intense upper body strengthening exercise regimen. He also increased the repetitions of all his exercises. Naruto had also learned swimming from Shizen Nichin. She had taught him, first in the mixed-gender bathhouse and then had him practice in the small fast-flowing stream outside of Training Ground 40. She had him swim against the flow, as it strengthened the muscles of his shoulders, chest, abdomen and thighs. When Naruto had first seen his Nichin in a bikini, Naruto had sported an erection, and Shizen had seen it, and teased him about having a crush on his Nichin. That had led to one of the most embarrassing experiences of his life. Flashback. As Naruto and Shizen arrived at the mixed-gender bathhouse in the vast Senju compound, they both got into their swimming costumes. Naruto was wearing gray skin-tight swimming shorts, while Shizen was in a bright red 2-piece bikini. As they were about to enter the pool, Shizen saw that Naruto seemed to be uncomfortable, and was frequently adjusting his ground area. She looked more closely and spotted him sporting what appeared to be a raging boner. Shizen quietly chuckled, but then got an idea to tease Naruto. She quickly restrained his hands above his head and looked down at his exposed groin and said in a mock stern voice, "Well, Naruto-kun, it seems like someone has gotten excited at seeing his Nichin in a bikini. What do you have to say for yourself?" Naruto just looked at her with a confused expression on his face and said in an innocent voice, "Shizen Nichin, I didn't know what is happening, since I saw you in your swimsuit. My ice cream has become very hard and it is becoming very uncomfortable." Shizen's playful expression turned into a serious one, as she asked, "Naruto, do you know how babies are made?" Naruto shook his head and said, "No, Nichin, the academy instructor sent me out of the class when that was being taught in the academy. I didn't even do anything to deserve that punishment." Shizen shook her head in dismay and asked, "Naruto, do you even know the difference in the body parts of females and males?" Naruto again shook his head in negative. Shizen asked, "Then how do you transform into a naked female using your sexy jutsu?" Naruto shook his head in the negative and said, "Nichin, the female I transform into is not naked. There is cloud covering her chest and groin, and I copied the image from a book I once saw Hokage Gigi reading. The woman in the picture also had clouds covering her chest and groin area." Shizen sighed and said, "No matter, I will teach you, Naruto. Listen carefully, Naruto. This is very important." The next hour was the most embarrassing of Naruto's life, as Shizen gave him an in-depth education on the human reproductive system and also the various sexual organs of males and females. She educated him about the effects of puberty on adolescent males and females. She also gave him a basic education on sex. That was easily the most embarrassing experience of his life. Naruto had even tried to run away, but she had immobilized him as a precaution in case he tried to run away. He couldn't her in the eye for the entire week after the incident without blushing brightly in embarrassment. After this incident, Shizen had started taking a shadow clone of Naruto with her to the hospital, and made him watch as she performed autopsies in the morgue and gave him an in-depth education on the functioning of the human body. When the first time Naruto had gotten those memories, Naruto had vomited everything he had eaten before, as he got the memories of the various cut body parts and blood, but he slowly got used to it. Shizen Neichan also taught his clone how various parts of the body worked, and the clone took copious amount of notes on everything Shizen Neichan taught him. Shizen Neichan also taught him basic first aid and also a jutsu on how to regulate his body temperature. It was also useful for improving chakra control. She also taught him the rope escape jutsu and the transparent escape jutsu. Naruto found them simple enough and Gad 2 clones practiced them till he was able to do them without hand seals. It took Naruto's clones 3 days to perfect them. Hokage's office. Tsunade was deep in contemplation as she finished her paperwork for the day. But her mind was far from the work she was doing. She was thinking about Naruto's progress from just 1 week of serious training under Shizen. She had been rather skeptical about Naruto's chances at passing the test, but it seems that the only thing he required to flourish was a dedicated and patient teacher. And Shizen was exactly that. Shizen was also a perfectionist, and she made sure that Naruto mastered every skill he had, and not just half-assing things. She had assumed that Naruto was kinesthetic learner. But her assumption turned out to be wrong. The only reason Naruto seemed to be dumb was because the academy instructors had sabotaged his education. He didn't even know how to read and write properly, and even what he knew was self-taught, which was a big achievement in itself. It was a wonder that Naruto had survived so long with such blatant sabotage of his shinobi training. She had no idea what her sensei was thinking when he allowed people to get away with so much against Naruto. He was the Hokage, damn it! If he had taken strict action against the first saboteur itself, then no one else would have dared to repeat such actions. She was loath to admit it, but the truth of the matter was that Sarutobi-sensei's inaction had basically encouraged a blatant bias against Naruto. And even then, the bias against Naruto was not subtle. For example, Rock Lee had graduated even though he had no capability to perform any ninjutsu, but had been past citing a recommendation from Guy and the Irainan that he couldn't perform ninjutsu or genjutsu due to a problem with his chakra system. She had read the reports of Naruto's first 2 failures in the genin exams. He had passed everything, and only failed in making the basic clone jutsu, which was damn impressive for someone who taught himself everything and whose education was sabotaged as much as possible, teaching him wrong Taijutsuan Shuriken Jutsu technique, sending him outside of classes for no fault of his, giving him damaged and sabotaged textbooks, you name it, and it had been done to Naruto. And even then it was not possible for an Uzumaki Jinchuriki to perform a basic illusionary clone, as that took too little chakra for him to perform without extensive chakra control training from a very young age, which he didn't have. Sarutobi-sensei should have passed Naruto on his first try itself and given him as an apprentice to Enko. With his amazing skills in stealth and massive chakra reserves, Enko would have turned him into a peerless assassin as well as an equally good frontline fighter. This again pointed to bias against Naruto, as a person who couldn't use any chakra externally EAS passed, while Naruto had to learn an A-ranked Kenjutsu to pass the genin exam. Tsunade could not place the complete blame on Sarutobi-sensei though. She knew that he was too tired to be an effective Hokage in his second term, what with having to handle the unruly civilian council, the Uchiha massacre, the Kumo incident, dealing with the massive drop in the number of ninja available after the Kyuubi rampage, keeping Naruto out of Danzo's hands, etc., and she felt guilty that he didn't have both Tsunade herself or Jiraiya to help ease his burden. She knew that if it was in his first term as Hokage, all the academy instructors who sabotaged Naruto would have been publicly executed by her sensei as an example. She was shook out of her musings when she saw the person she had been waiting for finally arrived. "Good evening, Hokage-sama," came the voice of Inoichi Yamanaka, the Yamanaka clan head and head of the torture and interrogation department. "Good evening, Inoichi. Now tell me, how did Naruto's psychological evaluation go?" The Sandaime really dropped the ball with how he allowed Naruto to be treated. "Hokage-sama," Inoichi replied, "the boy has severe mental trauma. When I tried to enter his mind, I felt a resistance. That only happens if you have mental shields, which he doesn't have or if has a dual personality. To deal with the isolation imposed on him and the hatred exhibited towards him by the population, he has tucked away all his negative emotions, as a child can't be expected to deal with such complex emotions. That seemed to have resulted in the creation of an alter ego in his mind, a Yami Naruto. In simple words, he represents all the negative emotions Naruto just suppresses, instead of dealing with them like in mentally healthy individuals. Tsunade-sama, Naruto also seems to be suffering from passive suicidal ideation. At Tsunade's horrified expression, Inoichi hurried to explain, he won't actively try to take his life, but in a mission situation, he will throw himself into any life-threatening situation if needed without any worry about his own life. Tsunade's mind went back to some of her earliest memories after meeting the blonde, when he took a blow to his chest for her, a complete stranger to him. Tsunade shook herself out of her musings and asked, "How did this happen, Inoichi?" "He basically has no self-worth, Hokage-sama, due to being repeatedly told that he was useless or having his existence be spat upon by almost everyone, even his teammates. This is a natural reaction to it. As for his passive suicidal tendencies, he seems to have idealized the versions of martyred shinobi, who were respected by everyone. In the old tales the Sandaime used to tell him about great shinobi, he seems to think that if he died for the village, at least then the villagers will acknowledge his existence and respect him." Tsunade looked on in horror as Inoichi continued in a disgusted voice, "Sandaime-sama may have protected Naruto from any physical abuse, as he publicly burned alive the first person who tried it. But then the villagers did something worse to him. They started treating him like he was invisible. Humans are social beings, Hokage-sama. Such social isolation was too much for the young child, and also as the cause of his attention-seeking behavior and pranking, he seemed to have come to the conclusion that any attention is better than being ignored. We as a village failed him terribly, Tsunade-sama. If his parents were to see how our treatment affected Naruto, we would not be able to dug the graves fast enough," Inoichi said. Tsunade shuddered in terror as she suddenly saw a vision of a chakra chain-wielding woman and a teleporting man were massacring Konoha citizens. Tsunade snapped out of her shock and asked, "Wait, you know who his parents are?" Inoichi shook his head and said with an amused smile on his face, "Tsunade-sama, he is a clone of his father in looks and his exuberant personality mirrors that of his mother. I would be a piss-poor ninja if I couldn't figure it out. I am sure that most of the ANBU forces know the truth about his identity, though from the looks of it, much of our shinobi forces and civilians consist of blind fools. How they don't recognize him for his true identity is beyond me. They look at his father's face every day and Naruto is practically his father's clone in terms of looks." Tsunade snorted in dismay and said, "People don't see what they don't want to see, Inoichi. If they accept that Naruto is the son of their beloved Yondaime and the red-hot habanero, that means that the fools will have to accept that for all these years taking out their frustrations on an innocent child, it will take time for the people to get past their own prejudice. But if Naruto progresses like he is in his training, from what I have read in Shizen's reports, it won't be long before his notoriety increases and his identity will be revealed. So what do you suggest we do to treat Naruto's psychological problems?" Tsunade asked. "I think regular sessions with me will help him in coming to terms with his unresolved psychological trauma. As he slowly accepts his dark feelings and learns to live with them, his Yami personality will start to dissipate. As for his suicidal tendency, you will have to make sure that he knows that there are people who care about him and love him, like you and Shizen. That will slowly improve his self-worth and make sure that you regularly remind him that there are people willing to help him, and not simply use him like his former teammates and sensei. From what I heard about his former team, Kakashi used Naruto to motivate Sasuke and make Sasuke feel better about himself, and Sakura did the same. She used to constantly put down Naruto to make her feel better about herself, and how the Sandaime allowed Sasuke Uchiha to become a shinobi is beyond me. That boy was a high-level flight risk. He would abandon the village at the slightest hint that someone else would give him more power. I even told this to the Sandaime, but he bowed down to the pressure of the civilian council and the elders. Team 7 was a disaster waiting to happen, and Tsunade-sama, you will have to break Naruto out of his unhealthy obsession with bringing back Sasuke, even at the cost of his own life. From his memory I saw of the fight against Sasuke, Naruto could have killed Sasuke if he didn't pull back his Rasengan at the last moment. That is how he suffered from the Chidori wound to his right lung. And another thing, Tsunade-sama, if Naruto gets over his psychological trauma, he may no longer want to be Hokage, as it was just another manifestation of his need for attention. Tsunade just smiled and said, I don't give a damn if he doesn't want to be Hokage. His health is of more priority to me. Inoichi nodded his head and said, "As it should be, I have scheduled regular therapy sessions for Naruto with me, every 3 days. I also want to give Naruto an IQ test. I expect him to be much smarter than is expected, as now he has someone teaching him sincerely." Tsunade just nodded her assent and dismissed Inoichi. She then decided on joining Naruto and Shizen for dinner every day from now on, as that would help in furthering her interaction with her favorite blonde and also assure him that there are people who care about his well-being. With that thought, she closed up her work for the day and headed to Training Ground 43 to supervise Naruto's training for the 1 hour he had remaining in his training schedule before it was time for his dinner. Training Ground 43. Tsunade reached the training ground and saw Naruto practicing various taijutsu combinations while standing on top of long poles, while dodging shuriken thrown at him by a shadow clone. This took her back to her days of training under Sarutobi-sensei on her taijutsu. When she had trouble with her balance, she had then used this particular exercise while training Shizen, who seems to have in turn implemented it in Naruto's training. She saw that Naruto was struggling a bit with his balance on a particularly difficult move and called out, "Naruto, try to execute the move while bending your body a little more. Make your center of gravity as low as possible. That will help with your balance." Naruto seemed to hear her advice and managed to execute the move perfectly after a few tries. She then had him standing on one leg on top of the pole and had him dodge shuriken, only resorting to swaying out of its path, and not moving an inch from his position. It seemed a little extreme, but she had seen Orikimura practice this while he was on her team, and it had done his evasion and body balance a world of good. It would also make Naruto's body a lot more flexible, as while she wanted to teach Naruto her super strength style of taijutsu, she knew that when it came to evasive maneuvers, snake-style taijutsu trumped hers, fair and square. She made a note to ask Anko to train Naruto in evasion, as she was a practitioner of snake-style taijutsu. Naruto wound down his taijutsu practice with a round of cool-down stretches and went to the Senju compound along with Tsunade. They decided to walk back, as they were in no hurry. "Thanks for the help, Ba-chan," Naruto said with a beaming smile. Tsunade whacked his head hard and shouted in mock fury, "Shut it, brat! I told you to not call me that, brat! I am not old. Next time you call me that, you will be having a taijutsu session with me," she said with an evil glint in her eye. Naruto shuddered, as he remembered her monstrous strength. As she kicked around Orochimaru, he had no desire to experience her super strength firsthand. "Thank you very much." He had been working with Inoichi on what he called were Naruto's suicidal tendencies. He had never realized before how little value he placed on his life. But he didn't agree with Inoichi's suggestion to give up on Sasuke. Sasuke was his friend and teammate, and those who abandoned their teammates were trash. Sasuke had attacked him with the Chidori only because the curse mark given by Orochimaru was affecting his mind. He was sure of that. He was brought out of his musings when he felt Tsunade ruffle his hair in amusement, as she saw his reaction to her threat. "Good boy, call me Oba-chan in private if you want, but in official capacity, call me Hokage-sama, Naruto. It looks professional." Naruto nodded his head, as that was a reasonable solution, but he still intended to call her Ba-chan when he could get away with it. As they reached the Senju compound and had dinner with Shizen, Tsunade inquired about the progress of his training, and she was immensely pleased with his progress. She was now confident that Naruto would comfortably pass the test. Tsunade then taught Naruto the next chakra control exercise after dinner. It consisted of making leaves rotate upon his fingertips with chakra, first all in the same direction, and then rotating the leaves on alternate fingers in opposite directions. She wanted him to master both of the chakra control exercises in the next 3 days, and it was possible if he dedicated 2 more clones to chakra control training. As Naruto was about to leave the Senju compound, he suddenly remembered something and addressed Tsunade, saying, "Oba-chan, can I still do some D-rank missions? It is getting hard to live on my own and manage to pay all the bills with no missions to perform to earn money." Tsunade cursed herself silently, as she had not realized that Naruto had no one to support him. She thought about agreeing to his request, but she knew that it would create ruckus from the council about favoritism. She suddenly thought about an idea, and said, "Naruto, I can't allow you to take missions till you become a genin again. But I have a solution. From tomorrow onwards you are moving into the Senju compound. There is lots of space here and Mr. and Shizen would love to have you here." Naruto was disappointed at not being allowed to do even D-rank missions and was thinking about ways to earn some money, when he heard what she said about living in the Senju compound and looked at her dumbfounded and asked, "Are you sure, Oba-chan, the villagers will be angry?" Tsunade snorted in amusement and said, "You don't worry about the villagers, Naruto. I will take care of it. I am the Hokage, not them. I rule the village. Who I allow to live in my compound is up to me," she said firmly. Naruto beamed in joy and thanked her profusely and sent 2 shadow clones to pack up his belongings and shift them to the room in her house that Tsunade told him to use as his own. The room was as big as his entire apartment. It had an attached bathroom. Naruto went to the training ground to continue his training as his clones unpacked and arranged his belongings, the few that he had, in his new home. After Naruto returned to the compound, he found Tsunade waiting for him, and she added his chakra signature to the security seals around the Senju compound, so as to allow him entry whenever he wanted. After that she bid him good night and went to her room to sleep. But before she left, she told him that she had arranged for someone to meet him at Training Ground 43. The next day, and that person would help him with his taijutsu training. Naruto was excited about it, and could barely sleep that night. Next morning, Training Ground 43. Naruto was going through his usual taijutsu practice when he suddenly swayed to the side, as his instincts screamed at him to dodge. He saw that he had barely dodged a kunai thrown at him, which had lodged itself in a tree after missing its target. He heard a clapping sound and turned around to see the crazy snake lady, who was the proctor for the second round of the Chunin exams. It seems that she was the one who fired the kunai at him. He was about to shout at her, for what looked like an attempted murder attempt, when he was suddenly dumbstruck by the words coming out of her mouth. "Not bad, Gaki. You still keep an eye on your surroundings even while doing your practice? That is much better than most genin, in my opinion. It seems that this will not be a waste of my time, after all. Get ready, Gaki. I'm Mitarashi Anko. I'm going to beat your ass in taijutsu from today onwards. I am on my downtime after an S-rank mission, and for the next 3 weeks I have been asked by Tsunade-sama to train you in taijutsu. Now let the training begin. Run, Gaki, run." She cackled as she made him dodge a continuous assault of kunai and shuriken, using only his speed and dodging skills, all the while trying to land a blow on her. The next hour passed excruciatingly slowly, as Naruto was cut, bruised and bit by snakes as Anko chased him all around the training ground. Naruto finally collapsed in exhaustion after an hour. As he failed to land even a single blow on her, he was exhausted. But Anko didn't look like she had even broken a sweat, which further depressed Naruto. Naruto was greatly discouraged by his performance. But Anko said, "Very good, Gaki. Your basic stances and evasion skills are solid for a new genin. But there is a lot of room for improvement, and we will work on your taijutsu and evasion skills every day. The physical conditioning and other aspects of your training, you can work on your own. Now, get back to your training, Gaki. Create clones for your chakra control training. You will spend most of your time with me, working on your physical skills." Naruto created 2 shadow clones, with a single hand sign, and sent them off to practice the leaf spinning exercise, as he followed Anko into the forest of death and she continued beating him into the ground, all the while correcting his stance and giving him tips on maintaining his balancing and delivering maximum force in his blows. After nearly another hour, it was time for breakfast and Naruto returned to Training Ground 43 and Anko returned to her house after telling him to meet her again in 2 hours in the Forest of Death. After Naruto's chakra recovered after taking a break for breakfast, he created 2 more shadow clones and set them to practicing the tree climbing exercise. This way he could practice 2 chakra control exercises at the same time. Naruto didn't expect the tree climbing exercise to take much time to master, as he had already learned it once, and this time he didn't have the Kyuubi chakra constantly disrupt his chakra flow. He instructed his clones to first start slowly walking up the tree and measure how much chakra it took to stick to the tree, and then slowly increase his speed in trying to walk up the tree. Naruto returned to the Forest of Death and saw that Anko had not yet arrived, so he created another shadow clone and had it working on his hand seal speed, and he settled down to meditate, which was quickly becoming something that he greatly enjoyed, despite his initial reluctance. As he immersed himself in his meditation, and was following the chakra flow in his body, he suddenly felt something like a bright spark approaching him at high speed, and Naruto suddenly got out of his meditative pose and threw a kunai in the direction that he felt the spark coming from. Enko was definitely not expecting to be greeted with a kunai to her face, when she shined to the forest of death, and definitely didn't expect the kunai to be launched by the gaki. She caught the kunai easily enough, as despite the surprise she was a special jounin, who was equal to most of the jounin in the village. The only deterrent to her promotion was her association with her traitorous sensei, Orochimaru, and that resulted in the elders and Danzo always opposing her promotion. She shook her head and brought herself out of her thoughts and turned towards the gaki and asked, "Why the hell did you attack me, gaki? And also, how the hell did you know where I was shining?" Naruto scratched the back of his head in embarrassment, on attacking his new teacher, and said in a sheepish voice, "Ano, sorry for attacking you, sensei. I was meditating according to Shizen Nichin's instructions when I felt a bright spark heading towards me at full speed and I reacted on instinct. Sorry, sensei. Please forgive me, Tobeo." Enko shook her head in amusement and said, "No need to worry, gaki. It seems like you are a censor. This is something that the academy instructors should have observed and trained you in. But I heard from Tsunade-sama about how they screwed you over. But don't worry, you can learn how to improve and train your sensory skills with Shizen. She is an incredible censor. Now, for the next 2 hours, we are going to play tag in the Forest of Death, and you will only try to escape from me using the kawarimi. And also you will not get down from the trees during this time period. We will only train atop the treetops. This will also make you familiar with fighting atop trees." Enko flicked a kunai into her palm and lazily licked it, and looking at a terrified Naruto, and said, "Now, run, gaki, otherwise I will taste your blood," and immediately flicked a couple of kunai at him. Naruto immediately disappeared from his position and appeared atop a tree, after using a kawarimi, and saw that the log he had substituted with had 5 kunai sticking out of it. Breathing a sigh of relief, Naruto immediately appeared atop an adjacent tree as he dodged another kunai which was tossed at his previous position, and saw that it had impaled the tree he was previously standing on, at the exact position that his head was present, a few seconds before. This pattern continued for an hour, as Enko forced him to kawarimi all over the place while dodging her projectiles at ever-increasing speed. After a while, she even started predicting where he would appear and threw kunai at those positions also, forcing him to play mind games with her regarding where he would appear next. This exercise led to Naruto being full of kunai wounds, when he was not fast enough with his kawarimi, or was predictable in where he would appear next. This torturous exercise had the benefit of making Naruto proficient enough in the use of the kawarimi, that he had entirely eliminated the smoke generated when he used the kawarimi. He had also reduced the hand seals required for him to successfully execute the kawarimi. He could now successfully execute the kawarimi jutsu with a single hand seal. Naruto collapsed on the ground after spending nearly all his chakra with the continuous use of the kawarimi for an hour straight. Despite all his exhaustion, Naruto was very pleased with his progress. He was confident that by the time another week passed, he would be able to perform a sealless kawarimi that would allow him to learn the Shunshin and one other jutsu from Shizen Nichin. The rest of the day progressed in the same fashion, with Naruto getting his butt handed to him by Enko, while his clones took care of his ninjutsu, shuriken jutsu and chakra control training. By the end of the day, Naruto had 7 clones working on his chakra control exercise of leaf spinning. His 2 clones had mastered tree walking, and his clone had even managed to stand on the tree's trunk and continuously dodge kunai thrown at it for an hour. Naruto even had 2 shadow clones of his spar while using tree walking for an hour, and by the end of the day Naruto could use tree walking subconsciously, without paying any attention to it. He now planned to master tree walking using his hands. By the end of the day, Naruto was beyond exhausted but was fully satisfied with his progress. Having a sparring partner had resulted in an impressive increase in the rate of his progress. Naruto was now sure that he would pass the genin exam easily. He had already mastered the henge, he had already tried it, and he was as proficient in it as ever. He even found it much easier to use than before. As for the basic illusionary clone, Naruto had to at least have Chunin level chakra control before even attempting it. His shuriken jutsu had progressed to the point that Naruto could hit any spot he aimed for on a stationary target, with 100% accuracy. He was now moving on to moving targets. His chakra weights had been increased to 50 kilograms on each leg by Shizen Nichin. His hand seal speed had increased drastically. He had almost completed the academy curriculum. Tsunade Bachan had deemed his calligraphy to be more than sufficient to start learning Fuinjutsu. Guess, having a clone practice his calligraphy for nearly 16 hours a day for 8 days, had improved his calligraphy drastically. Even he himself was astonished at seeing his improved calligraphy. It no longer looked like chicken scratch, and it now looked like someone had printed it, and not handwritten. As Naruto contemplated his progress while lying on the ground after completely exhausting himself, his thoughts were disturbed by Anko, who also looked to be tired. "Well, Gaki, time for you to go home. Meet me tomorrow, in the Forest of Death. After completing your physical conditioning, we will continue the same type of training as we did today. And don't you forget to ask Shizen to train you in your sensory ability. It will be a very useful tool in your arsenal, so don't neglect its development. Train in your sensory ability." With Shizen after having dinner, saying this, Anko disappeared in a leaf shunshin. With immense difficulty, Naruto picked up his bruised and battered body off the ground and proceeded to training ground 43 and saw his shadow clones still continuing with the tasks he had set them. Naruto carefully sat in a full-size posture and called out, "Guys, dispel one at a time, so that I can easily absorb your memories, without a headache." And at once the memories of all the training done by his clones hit him, one after another, and Naruto took 15 minutes to fully absorb and analyze the memories he had received. Naruto was happy to learn that his clones had made sufficient progress in mastering the tree walking exercise with his added twist of using hands instead of his legs to climb the tree. He had also made sufficient progress with the leaf spinning exercise. He could spin 5 leaves, one on the tip of each finger of one hand. Tomorrow he would proceed to the next step of doing it on both hands at once. Overall, he was very satisfied with the progress in his chakra control training. Satisfied with his progress, Naruto slowly walked back to his new home and immediately went into the shower and stood beneath the hot shower for nearly half an hour, allowing the hot water to soothe his muscles and relieve the tension accumulated in his muscles. Sighing in relief, when he finally felt some relief, Naruto washed all the dirt and grime from his body and stepped out of the bathroom after wiping off the water from his body, putting on a new jumpsuit. Naruto went to the dining hall and saw that Ba-chan and Ne-chan were already waiting for him. Greeting them with a smile, Naruto immediately began to wolf down his dinner at record speed, as all the training with Anko had left him knackered. Naruto let out a yelp when he felt a wooden spoon smack into the back of his head. Looking up from his food, he saw Shizen Ne-chan with a wooden spoon in her hand, looking at him with a severe expression. "What did I tell you about eating like a ravenous animal, Naruto-kun?" asked Shizen in a severe tone. "Sorry, Ne-chan, I am just very hungry. Anko-sensei tired me out completely. I don't think I have ever been this tired because of training," Naruto said in a sheepish tone, as Shizen had been beating manners into his thick skull, saying that every person should have minimum manners, especially someone aspiring to be Hokage. Nodding her head in agreement, Shizen said, "Be as it may, Naruto, that is no reason to revert back to bad habits. Now eat properly, and then tell me how your training went." As this was going on, Tsunade was silently snickering as she saw Shizen repeatedly smacking Naruto with a wooden spoon as she made him eat with proper manners. She never did imagine that Shizen had in it her to be so strict. Shizen was proving that there was a reason that she was jounin. Tsunade decided to break up the banter between Shizen and Naruto, so she said, "Okay, enough. Now, Naruto, tell me how your training with Anko went." Naruto narrated the events of his day's training to Tsunade, when he suddenly remembered something and turned towards Shizen saying, "Shizen Ne-chan, today while I was practicing meditation, I suddenly sensed Anko arriving via Shunshin. It seems like I am a sensor. Anko-sensei told me to ask you to train me in sensing chakra. She said that you are a sensor, too." Tsunade was not much surprised by this news, as she knew that both of Naruto's parents were excellent sensors. She was initially surprised when Naruto didn't exhibit any sensing talent, but it seems that the Kyuubi chakra was suppressing a lot of Naruto's abilities, as he also seemed to have a good control over his vast chakra reserves, without the Kyuubi messing with his chakra control. Shizen was shocked at this piece of information, as usually sensing talent is recognized early in a shinobi, in the academy itself, but she attributed this to either the academy instructors neglecting to check if Naruto had any sensing talent, or even training him if he had any such talent. It was also possible that, now that Naruto's chakra didn't have to fight to keep the Kyuubi chakra in control, it was slowly exhibiting all its intrinsic characters. It was also flowing smoothly through Naruto's chakra coils, leading to an increase in Naruto's natural chakra control. Shaking herself out of her musings, Shizen agreed to help Naruto with sharpening his sensory skills, as it was a very useful skill to have. She told him to meet her in the training ground behind their house in the Senju compound, after dinner. After finishing dinner and washing the dishes, Shizen and Naruto sat down in full-size postures in the Senju compound training ground. Close your eyes, Naruto, and focus on my chakra signature that you can sense, then concentrate on it, and tell me all the details you can observe from it, Shizen suggested to Naruto, to get him started on the process of sharpening his chakra sensing skill. Naruto quickly closed his eyes and sunk into a meditative trance. He could clearly sense a chakra signature from where he knew that Shizen Nei-chan was sitting down. He focused his entire concentration on her chakra signature, and it paid results as he could slowly see that the chakra was near 3/4 of his own reserves and seemed to be both fluid as well as crackling at the same time. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and said, Nei-chan, I can feel that your chakra reserves are nearly 3/4 of my own, and your chakra feels both fluid and crackling at the same time. Shizen beamed in pride and said, Very good, Naruto-kun, you were able to sense my chakra reserves as well as the nature of my chakra. My elemental affinity is water and lightning. That is the reason my chakra felt like it was a fluid as well as crackling at the same time. Naruto nodded his head in agreement. As he had studied about elemental affinities in one of the books Shizen Nei-chan had made him read, Naruto was very excited to learn elemental ninjutsu. But he knew that he first had to make sure that all his basics were rock solid. Naruto looked to Shizen Nei-chan and asked, What should I do now, Nei-chan? She just smiled and said, Now, all that is left is trying to improve the range of your sensory ability, and trying to sense the chakra levels and affinities of multiple people at once. It will be very confusing and headache-inducing at first, but practice is the only way to improve this skill. From tomorrow onwards, combine this training with your mediation training. That way you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, it is time for you to go to bed. It took you nearly 15 minutes to get into a meditative trance and sense my chakra and its intricacies. I want you to work on the speed with your sensory ability, to the point that you are always subconsciously sensing everything around you, even while you are in relaxed mode. It will save your life someday. Mark my words. Naruto returned to his room in Tsunade Bachan's house and immediately dispelled his 2 clones. Of them, one was practicing his calligraphy and his speed of writing kanji, while another was reading advanced mathematics and advanced physics, which was essential for high-level fuinjutsu. It took him about 10 minutes to fully absorb and analyze all their memories. Satisfied with his progress, Naruto created 1 shadow clone and assigned him to work on trying to increase the range of his sensing ability. Naruto brushed his teeth and immediately went to bed, as he didn't want to be tired when he met Enko-sensei for training in the morning. The rest of the week progressed in a similar fashion. Naruto had finally managed to perform a sealless kawarimi with perfection. Now, he was working on trying to substitute with smaller and smaller objects, and he had dedicated 10 shadow clones to working on that. Daily, he had mastered tree walking and also his variant of it. He had mastered both the versions of the leaf spinning exercise Tsunade Bachan had told him to master. His leg weights had been increased to 80 kilograms per leg. He had finally hit a growth spurt, due to his now improved diet and rigorous physical training, and had grown nearly 2 inches in the 15 days since he had started training. Enko-sensei had been impressed by his dedication and progress, and had taught him a number of taijutsu moves belonging to the snake-style taijutsu. His range with his sensing talent had increased to 100 meters from the initial 10 meters, but he was still not able to differentiate between different chakra signatures in a crowd, and that usually gave him a headache. But he had managed to identify chakra signatures of people he was familiar with, even if they were in a crowd. His shurikenjutsu training with moving targets had also improved. Enko-sensei had him using the giant spiders in the Forest of Death for target practice. She also had him fight the giant spiders using only taijutsu. Due to their tough exoskeleton, it was difficult to kill them with only taijutsu, but he had improved with every session of fighting against them, and the power of his blows had increased drastically. Even more than his admittedly high natural power, Enko also had Naruto spar against her occasionally without his weights, as she wanted him to be familiar with fighting at his full speed. As the first time Naruto had removed his weights and tried to move at his full speed, he had crashed into a tree, so Naruto took of his weights for 2 hours every alternative day in order to get used to his true speed. Overall, Shizen Nei-chan was pleased with his progress and agreed to teach him the Shunshin Jutsu as well as another jutsu which she called the Kage Shuriken Jutsu. Senju Compound Training Ground. 15 days after start of training, Naruto stood at attention, visibly vibrating in excitement as Shizen Nei-chan was going to teach him 2 new jutsu. This was what he was waiting for. A new jutsu was better than even ramen, in his opinion. Speaking of ramen, Naruto decided to sneak away to Ichiraku for a few bowls of ramen, as he had not had even a single bowl of ramen, the food of the gods, in his opinion, in nearly 15 days, which was blasphemy. Naruto was disturbed from his dreams about swimming in a pool of ramen, when he heard Shizen Nei-chan clearing her throat to catch his attention. As Naruto concentrated his attention on her, Shizen performed the hand signs for Kage Shuriken Jutsu and launched a kunai at a training post, and watched as it multiplied into 20 kunai. Awesome, Nei-chan! I can now make 1 kunai multiply into hundreds of kunai, Naruto screamed in excitement. Shizen quickly brought him down from his excitement, saying, don't get too overexcited, Naruto. Any competent shinobi can block it using an earth wall, a water wall, by going underground, by blowing all of them away with a gust of wind, etc. Naruto quickly came down to earth from his high. He pouted and said, Nei-chan, couldn't you have let me have my happy thoughts for at least a few minutes? Shizen chuckled and said, don't worry, Naruto. It is my job to make sure that you don't get a big head. Also, this jutsu is very useful against bandits and lower-ranked samurai. The number of kunai multiplied depends on the amount of chakra used and the control you have on your chakra. This is similar to your Kage Bunshin Jutsu, so I don't expect you to take long to master this. I want you to master it to the point of needing only a single hand seal. It originally requires 5 hand seals. Seeing Naruto nod his head in agreement, Shizen said, now follow my hands as I make the hand seals required and replicate them using chakra to use the jutsu. Naruto observed her hands as she slowly went through the hand seals, and he replicated them perfectly as he launched a kunai at the training post and softly intoned Kage Shuriken Jutsu. Naruto's jutsu was a success as his kunai multiplied into 5, but he was disheartened as he couldn't match his Nei-chan. Seeing his disheartened expression, Shizen just chuckled and said, Naruto, you didn't honestly expect to match me on the first try, did you? I can make a kunai multiply into 50 at best, but the Sandaime Hokage could multiply a single kunai into hundreds of them with a single hand seal. According to what I heard from Tsunade-sama, I want you to reach that level of proficiency with this jutsu, Shizen said to Naruto. It will take you a lot of practice and a long time to reach that level of proficiency with this jutsu. But I expect you practice till you reach that level of proficiency. Is that clear? Naruto rapidly nodded his head and said, yes, Nei-chan. I will practice till I reach the Sandaime's level. Now can you teach me the Shunshin Jutsu, please, please, please? Seeing Naruto's pouting face, Shizen chuckled and said, if you can multiply your kunai into 20 with a single hand seal, I will teach you the Shunshin Jutsu. I don't want to teach you the Shunshin Jutsu at present, as I don't want to overburden you. You already have more than enough things to train in, for the moment. You perform the Kage Shuriken Jutsu to my satisfaction, and I will happily teach you the Shunshin Jutsu. Seeing as Shizen Nei-chan would not budge from her decision despite his incessant pleading, Naruto agreed to her condition, as despite his pleading Naruto knew that Shizen Nei-chan had a point. He was already training for nearly 18 hours a day on various things. This additional training for the Shunshin Jutsu would have just caused him to burn out. Training Ground 43. After a few hours, Naruto had just finished his exercise routine after increasing his leg weights to 90 kilograms on each leg. Naruto had also increased the number of repetitions of each exercise. Naruto had taken inspiration for his exercise routine from Guy and Lee. Naruto wanted to match them in taijutsu one day, but Naruto also added exercises for flexibility to his routine, as he didn't want a bulky body. He wanted a slim and streamlined body built for both intense speed and monstrous strength. Naruto finished his exercises and saw 2 of his shadow clones working on water walking, as that was the next chakra control exercise assigned to him. Shizen was surprised when she saw that Naruto had already mastered the tree walking exercise with both hands and legs, but she was proud of him for taking the initiative in his training and assigned him the water walking exercise, first on still water and then on hot water and then on flowing water. Currently Naruto's clones were practicing the water walking exercise on a lake adjacent to the training ground 44. Another 2 of his clones were working on reducing the hand seals required for the Kage Shuriken Jutsu. By sensing the way chakra was molded in his chakra pathways by each hand seal while using the jutsu, and then attempting to mold his chakra like that without the assistance of a hand seal, his sensory ability came in handy in this situation, and this also helped in improving his sensory ability, as if he mastered this ability to sense how the chakra is being molded by a person. He could learn the nature of the jutsu being used by his opponent even before he uses it on him. He could also use this ability as a Sharingan, without the necessity of needing to see all the hand seals required to copy it. Naruto could copy any jutsu he sees by memorizing the flow of chakra in his opponent. During the usage of the jutsu, Naruto was determined to develop his chakra sensing ability to that level, that it basically became an artificial Sharingan. Naruto decided to work on this project in secret, as Shizen Neichan had told him that a good shinobi never revealed all his secrets to anyone. Naruto created a clone to work on his sensing, and continued on his way to the Forest of Death to work on his taijutsu skills with Enko-sensei. As soon as he entered the clearing where they usually sparred, Naruto immediately inclined his head slightly to the left, and caught a kunai thrown at him in his left hand and threw it in the same direction it came from. He was not surprised to see that it was Enko who had attacked him, as this was her method of making sure that Naruto was always on guard, and Naruto had also learned to take this in stride. Enko clapped her hands slowly and said, "Very good, Gaki. You dodged the kunai with minimal movement and attacked in the same movement. You have improved beyond my expectations, but now, it is time to make sure that you don't get a big head. So, time for Enko Neichan to thrash you. Get ready, Naruto." Saying this, Enko launched herself at Naruto at high chunin speed. Naruto could follow her with his eyes, as he had become accustomed to high-speed combat. But he knew that he could not hope to dodge her blow as his body was simply not fast enough, especially with the new level he had upgraded his weights to that very morning. So, instead of trying to block or dodge the incoming blow, Naruto simply substituted himself with a log and saw it get cracked from Enko's blow. Naruto immediately launched himself at her with a rising double kick, which she dodged by swaying to the side, and kicking Naruto in the stomach with a side kick, and Naruto allowed his body to roll with the blow to reduce the impact. Naruto then surprised Enko by using the surface sticking exercise to latch onto the legs she had lashed at him and using precise strikes with the kunai to disable both her Achilles tendons, and Naruto immediately substituted himself with another log when she launched a couple of snakes at him from her sleeves after getting over her surprise. The fight progressed better for Naruto from there, as he had limited Enko's movement by disabling her leg movement, but she still managed to beat Naruto with a surprise application of a paralytic poison, when she lured Naruto into coming into her range, when she feigned an opening in her stance, and nicked him with a poisoned kunai she kept in her sleeve. Shizen found Naruto and Enko like that. When she came to give Naruto his breakfast, Naruto still suffering from lingering effects of the poison, which his healing factor had mostly taken care of, and Enko with both her Achilles tendons cut. "What the hell happened here?" Shizen demanded to know. Enko just laughed and said with amusement in her voice, "Gaki surprised me and managed to sever the tendons in my ankles. He would have won the fight if I hadn't tricked him and disabled him using a paralyzing poison of medium concentration, as low-level poisons don't have any effect on him due to his healing factor. I don't know whether I should be proud of him for managing to surprise me and land a blow on me, or be pisses at myself for being tricked by a kid who is not even a genin yet." Shizen shook her head in bemusement and said, "So, Naruto finally managed to land a hit on you. Good for him. It only took him 10 days. And I think it is time that I train him in genjutsu detection and dispelling. Do you mind starting him on poison resistance, Enko?" Enko shook her head and said, "No problem for me. I think it is a good idea to start him on poison resistance, though I think he is already immune to all the low-level ones due to his healing factor. But he will need to be immune to poisons if he fights shinobi belonging to villages like Suna, Kusa or Aim. They are famous for their use of poisons. Genjutsu resistance is also a very good idea, as I don't think he knows even how to dispel the most basic of genjutsu. But as he is sensor, genjutsu detection will be easy for him, and dispelling them will also be easier for him as he has massive chakra reserves. I don't think low-level genjutsu will even have an effect on him, as it will be like trying to influence an ocean with a drop of water, due to his massive chakra reserves. But he will be susceptible to high-level genjutsu, so I will train him to first detect foreign chakra, which should be easy as it is already part of his chakra sensing training. Then I will work with him on various methods of dispelling genjutsu. Meanwhile you can work with him on his poison resistance, as you are much better at that than me, and can heal him in case of an adverse reaction. Shizen nodded and said, that's settled then. I will take him with me after breakfast and start working on low-level poison resistance and detection, and you can work with a few of his shadow clones on genjutsu detection. With Anko's agreement, Shizen took Naruto with her to her office in the hospital, and Naruto created 3 shadow clones to work with Anko on genjutsu detection, while another 2 worked on water walking and a couple of shadow clones worked on the Kanai Kage Bunshin Jutsu. Naruto decided not to dedicate any shadow clones to work on chakra sensing, as training for genjutsu detection could also double as training for his chakra sensing. Naruto followed Shizen to her office, and sat on a couch she indicated to him, and waited as she went about mixing some herbs and chemicals she had in her office and then grinding them in a pestle. After that she extracted the pure poison from the pestle, using pure water manipulation and then boiling it in a hollow water bubble, using pure water and fire manipulation. As Shizen completed her preparation of the poison, she mulled over the fact that not many knew poison was her specialty. She had surpassed the queen of elixirs, Tsunade-sama, herself in that field. She was hoping to pass down her knowledge to Naruto, by making him her official apprentice after he made Jounin. She knew that Naruto would be a frontline fighter with his massive chakra reserves, so even she had upped her training in order to be able to teach Naruto better. She was a solid Jounin level kunoichi, but had become a little rusty from having not seen combat in a long time. While she was roaming around the elemental nations with Tsunade-sama, she had recently upped her daily training after she had decided to teach Naruto, and she was back to the level she was originally at, solid Jounin level. By her estimate she was about the level of Kurinai. Shizen had rediscovered her thrill for combat, as she had originally wanted to be a combat medic and not a pure medic. Shizen decided to use this opportunity to get herself to Kage level, as well as bring Naruto to that level, by making him her apprentice and teaching him properly. Unlike that hypocritic pervert Kakashi, Shizen knew that she would not face any difficulty in making Naruto her apprentice, as Tsunade-sama had already made Sakura her apprentice, and taking Naruto also as her apprentice would not be without its problems, as most of the civilian council still didn't like Naruto, despite him no longer having the Kyuubi within him. So, Shizen was sure she could take on Naruto as her apprentice by persuading Tsunade-sama, as she could teach Naruto everything that Tsunade-sama wanted to teach him. Shizen was also working on bringing up her chakra reserves, which were solid high Jounin level up to Kage level, because she knew that a shinobi could become Kage level only by constantly fighting against another Kage level opponent. So Shizen also had taken to sparring with Tsunade-sama daily. Bringing herself out of her musings, Shizen filled the poison in a syringe, and stuck it in Naruto's arm, without any prior warning, as she knew that Naruto was deathly afraid of needles, and would make a fuss if she told him in advance. Naruto was definitely not expecting his Nachon to stick an injection syringe into his arm and inject something into his body. Naruto suddenly felt as if his body was out of his control, as he was able to move any of his limbs. As Naruto sat there, paralyzed and unable to move, Shizen sat at her desk and said in a casual tone that Naruto-kun was a paralytic poison of about average strength. It will leave you paralyzed for 3 hours. But with your healing factor I guess it will take your body about an hour to be back under your control. In the meanwhile, I will be continuously casting genjutsu on you and you have to detect them first, and then I will teach you how to dispel them. This way, you can work on both your poison resistance, as well as your genjutsu resistance. We will do this every day from now on. I want you to create a sealless shadow clone. It will follow my clone as it teaches you basic medical jutsu like how to prevent dehydration, how to regulate your body temperature, etc. This continuous exposure to poisons will also lead to massive improvement in your healing factor. I want you to be able to resist any kind of poisons. Once I am confident in your resistance to at least mid-level poisons and your chakra control has reached a satisfactory level, I will teach you how to extract poison from a body, and how to prepare poisons as well as their antidotes. It was then that Naruto discovered that though his body was paralyzed, he could feel his chakra, and so molded his chakra sealessly, and created a shadow clone and sent it with Shizen Nichin's shadow clone, to learn basic medical jutsu. While his clone was learning basic medical jutsu, Naruto spent an hour trying to sense small amounts of Shizen Nichin's chakra, trying to influence the chakra in his system, and Naruto resisted it as much as he could, but finally Naruto suddenly saw a scene of Konoha lying in ruins, and all his precious people like Tsunade Ba-chan, Shizen Ne-chan, I am Ne-chan, Tuchi Ajizan, Sakura-chan and so other people lying on the ground with what looked to be fatal injuries, and asking him in rasping voice why he didn't save them? Then Naruto suddenly saw himself being impaled through his chest by Sasuke's Chidori, and felt an intense pain through his body. The scene then shifted to show Naruto himself being bitten on the neck by Orochimaru and the excruciating pain that accompanied it. Before he blacked out, the scenes kept repeating and Naruto couldn't respond in any way, as he felt his breaths coming quicker and quicker, and he felt himself sweating like crazy. Suddenly, Naruto could no longer bear this psychological torture and blacked out. Shizen was very pleased with Naruto's quick progress with detecting foreign chakra. It probably helped that she had him become very familiar with his chakra through meditation, so now he could detect foreign chakra easily. Naruto also seemed to be revisiting the lower-level genjutsu fairly successfully, but the moment she layered an illusion, she saw him succumb to the genjutsu hell viewing technique. Shizen was not much worried about this, as it was still just a D-rank genjutsu. But she definitely started to worry when Naruto suddenly became catatonic and fainted after a while. Instead of panicking like a rookie shinobi, Shizen administered Naruto the antidote to the paralytic poison she had given him. When Naruto still didn't wake up, even after a jolt to his chakra system, Shizen immediately created a shadow clone to keep watch over him, and she shined to the Hokage's office to fetch Tsunade-sama. Hokage's office. Tsunade set down her pen and leaned back into her chair and let out a sigh of relief as her paperwork for the afternoon was completed. She never thought that there would come a day when she would be reduced to a paper pusher, or the day her hand would start cramping from doing paperwork. She blamed that blonde menace she considered her son/brother for this state of hers. He was the one who had reignited that dying spark of fire in her and made her take up the Hokage's hat. But as she watched children play happily without a care in the streets, Tsunade knew that however much she might protest, she was happy that Naruto had managed to convince her to become the Hokage. Preserving that playful smile and childhood of the children was the reason that her grandfather and granduncle had established Konoha. Tsunade was proud to again play a role in keeping Konoha safe. Tsunade would never admit it to anyone, but these past few months had been the most satisfying and happy days she had experienced in nearly 2 decades. Tsunade pulled herself back from her memories and reached into a secret compartment beneath her desk, where she hid her secret stash of sake from Shizen, as Shizen prevented her from drinking when she was in office. One thing she was glad for was that, ever since Shizen had restarted her own training and also training Naruto, she had stopped working as her secretary, so she could drink her sake whenever she wanted. It was usually Sakura who worked as her secretary. As Tsunade lifted a saucer of sake to her lips and took a sip, she suddenly saw Shizen barge into her office. Tsunade spitted out the sake in her mouth, in shock, and tried to defend herself, saying, "Shizen, I was not drinking, I swear." But Shizen just lifted an eyebrow in question when she saw the saucer and bottle of sake on Tsunade's desk, but didn't comment on it. Ignoring her Shusho's drinking habits for now, Shizen said in an urgent tone, "Tsunade-sama, please hurry to my office. Naruto is not well." Tsunade immediately abandoned her feeble attempts to defend herself and immediately adopted a serious expression and asked in a serious voice, "What happened, Shizen? You are more than capable of healing any injuries he may have suffered." I was training him in genjutsu detection and dispelling, while simultaneously working on his poison resistance. He was easily resisting the low-level genjutsu, so I used layered low-level illusions and he was caught in the hell-viewing genjutsu. I gave him the antidote for the paralytic poison I gave him, but he would still not wake up and instead seems to have gone into a catatonic state, similar to that of Sasuke Uchiha when Itachi used his Sharingan genjutsu on him. Mental healing is not my forte, so I came to get you, Shizen replied. Well, let's get going, there's no time to waste. I will summon Inoichi to the hospital to check on Naruto, said Tsunade, and leapt out of her window and rushed away to the hospital. Shizen followed her teacher, while an A and B went to the TI to summon Inoichi to the hospital according to the Hokage's orders. Shizen's office, hospital wing. On reaching Shizen's office, Tsunade barged inside and saw Naruto in exactly the same position as Shizen had described. He was lying comatose with Shizen's shadow clone keeping watch over his prone form. Tsunade immediately walked over to where Naruto's prone form was lying on a couch and activated the Mystic Palm Jutsu, and placed her palms, one on his forehead and another on his heart, and checked the readings and confirmed Shizen's diagnosis. There was nothing physically wrong with his body, but mentally he seemed to be stuck in a loop like in Victims of Itachi's Tsukuyomi. Seeing as the symptoms were similar to when she treated the Uchiha brat after he confronted his brother, she decided to go with a similar treatment. Reaching a decision, she concentrated purine chakra into her palms, and as it formed an almost emerald green ethereal flame in her palms, she placed them on Naruto's forehead and softly intoned, "In release, psychic revival." This was a jutsu she had learnt in the Senju clan library, created by her grandfather the Shodame Hokage, to counter the effects of Mangekyo's Sharingan Genjutsu used by Madara and his brother Azuna. It used the surgery of purine chakra to flush out the foreign chakra from the mindscape of the victim, and kickstart the healing of the mindscape. Tsunade was satisfied to see that Naruto had broken out of his catatonic state, but had become unconscious from all the strain on his mind. Just as Tsunade had managed to heal Naruto, she sensed that the Yamanaka clan head had arrived. Tsunade indicated to Shizen to let him in. As soon as Inoichi entered the room, he quickly took in Naruto's unconscious form on the couch and the concerned expressions on the faces of the Hokage and Shizen. He immediately stood at attention and asked, "Hokage-sama, you sent for me, what can I do for you?" Shizen narrated the events that led to Naruto's condition to Inoichi, and then Tsunade asked Inoichi, "I would like you to take a look at Naruto. A simple C-rank genjutsu should not have put him in such a condition." Inoichi listened to the events with rapt attention, and after hearing everything he got a glint in his eyes and said, "Hokage-sama, I may know what caused this, but I would like to inspect his memories once, before informing you about my hypothesis." With the Hokage's approval, Inoichi immediately used his clan jutsu to enter Naruto's mindscape and inspected his memories of the past hour. Satisfied about the correctness of his hypothesis, Inoichi exited Naruto's mind. Taking a moment to get his thoughts in order, Inoichi collected himself and addressed the Hokage. "Hokage-sama, my theory was correct. Naruto was subconsciously suppressing the memories of his fight with Sasuke and his death at Orochimaru's hands. The genjutsu that Shizen-san used brings up that makes the target see his worst fears and most feared memories. This resulted in Naruto's suppressed memories coming up automatically, and his mind was stuck in a loop trying to get to terms with them. So, what is your diagnosis, Inoichi? Will Naruto be fine?" Tsunade asked after hearing the reason for Naruto's condition. Normally, being stuck like that in a memory loop of your worst fears and memories would result in psychological trauma. But in this case, I think that with regular counseling Naruto will finally come to terms with his death and Sasuke's betrayal, as I have not yet managed to make him get over his unhealthy habit of forgiving everyone, even at the cost of his own health. I think Naruto will finally accept that Sasuke was never a true friend to him, and he will be ready to do what must be done if he faces Sasuke again. I blame most of his unhealthy habit of letting everyone walk all over him, like Sakura does, on the Sandaime, so I can say that with regular counseling for the next 2 months, I think Naruto will be perfectly fine and will be perfectly fine even psychologically. Shizen sighed in relief when she heard Inoichi-san's diagnosis that Naruto would be fine, as she had been blaming herself for his condition, however accidental it might be. With his work done, Inoichi took his leave and left. After Inoichi's departure, Tsunade also left for her office, and Shizen took Naruto back to Tsunade's house and set him down on his bed in his room and created a shadow clone to watch over him. A few hours later, as Naruto slowly came to consciousness, he immediately took stock of his surroundings as he saw that he was not in Shizen's office, which was the last place he remembered himself being. But when he recognized his surroundings, he relaxed his body as he was in his room. Then Naruto suddenly started sobbing as the events leading to his unconsciousness suddenly asserted themselves in his mind. Naruto felt himself being hugged gently by soft hands and saw that it was Shizen Nei-chan. Patiently consoling him, she asked, "What happened, Naruto? Why are you crying?" It took Naruto a few minutes to control himself and reply, "I saw everyone I love lying dead in Konoha in ruins. Nei-chan, you, Tsunade-ba-chan, I am Nei-chan, Tuchi Gigi everyone, Nei-chan." And Naruto quickly succumbed to sobs again. He controlled himself and said, I remembered the fight with Sasuke, Nei-chan. I remember him trying to kill me. Naruto could no longer delude himself. Watching the same memory hundreds of times continuously has the effect of opening your eyes to the truth, however stubborn you might be. Naruto took a few moments to collect himself and continued, I remember Orochimaru biting on my neck. I remember feeling intense pain unlike anything I have ever felt. It was like liquid fire was flowing through my body. I can remember being on the edge of unconsciousness and felt myself beginning to feel quite cold, and then I remember waking up in the hospital. What truly happened to me, Shizen Nei-chan? I need to know the truth, please Nei-chan? Naruto pleaded with her, with tears in his eyes. Shizen contemplated Naruto's request for a few seconds, but ultimately decided to inform him of the whole truth, as she believed that Naruto would not completely recover till he came to terms with what happened to him. You died at the hands of Sasuke and Orochimaru. Even before piercing you with multiple Chidori, Sasuke seems to have broken your neck, and the only reason you survived was the Kyuubi. Then Orochimaru's curse seal and the lung injury from Sasuke's Chidori finally killed you again, and only the remaining Kyuubi chakra and nature chakra running through your system and your Uzumaki vitality kept you alive long enough for Tsunade-sama and myself to heal you. We also lost you twice on the operation table, and had to revive you using light lightning shocks to your heart. Shizen silently observed as Naruto seemed to become sadder and sadder as she recounted his condition to him, but she just hugged him and said, I know this is hard to accept, Naruto, but it is the truth. You will only recover completely after you come to terms with it. But don't worry, you have me, Anko and Tsunade-sama to support you through every step of the way. After Naruto calmed down a bit, Shizen addressed him saying, Naruto, for the rest of the day I want you to work on your chakra sensing skills and send shadow clones to practice your chakra control. I don't want you to exert yourself physically, as you need to rest for at least today. Naruto was in no mood to argue and so just acquiesced to her instructions and did as he was told. The rest of the day, Naruto spent practicing his chakra sensing, while his clones were trying to make his own storage seals and explosive seals, while some other clones worked on his chakra control. It was quite tedious, but the meditation for the chakra sensing practice allowed Naruto to take his mind off the events of the day. The rest of the day passed away with Naruto trying to calm his mind from the revelations of the day. At dinner, Tsunade informed Naruto that he had mandatory psychiatric sessions with Inoichi once every 3 days for the next month. After dinner, Naruto spent another hour working on his Fuinjutsu before going to sleep. Next day, Training Ground 43. The next morning found Naruto running laps around the village, on his hands, as this worked wonders on his upper body and arms. He had already completed his usual physical exercise routine and this was a new addition to his physical exercise routine. Having finished 20 rounds around Konoha on his hands, Naruto went on to his next new exercise which was vertical handstands, combined with leaf sticking exercise. After 100 repetitions, Naruto went to a nearby cave in the mountains surrounding Konoha and used his chakra to stick to the mouth of the cave using his palms and continued doing pull-ups with a fire burning beneath where he was, hanging from the ceiling. This served as both an intense physical exercise as well as a chakra control exercise. Then he repeated this exercise while hanging from the ceiling using his chakra through his legs. While he pulled up his body towards the ceiling of the cave, the fire underneath him served as an encouragement to not lose his focus and also his grip on the ceiling. He had suffered a couple of burns on his back, but had immediately doused them in the cool water of the stream running just a few steps from the mouth of the cave. And then Naruto had his clone apply a burn healing salve he had brought with him on the burns on his back. This would also make his skin tough. Naruto didn't worry much about the burn. As though it was very painful, he knew that it would heal completely in 1 or 2 days, leaving behind nothing but a scar. Naruto had observed that his healing factor had improved from where it was after the Kyuubi was extracted from him. Naruto assumed that a fair amount of his chakra had also been sealed to keep the Kyuubi's influence at bay, and with the destruction of the seal, his chakra had also been unsealed and at his use completely. His chakra flowed much more fluidly and smoothly, and he could use jutsu much more easily, without constant fluctuations caused by the Kyuubi's chakra mingling with his own and disrupting the chakra flow in his body. Then after taking a few minutes of rest, Naruto tried to walk in water using his hands, instead of his legs, while his clones worked on his normal water walking and other chakra control exercises and also practicing his kawarimi, kunai kage bunshin jutsu and the shunshin. Naruto was also working on an idea he had about overloading a shadow clone with chakra and making it explode. He had experimented with it, and was very satisfied with it. It had resulted in a magnificent explosion. It truly was art. Naruto suddenly got the feeling that he had made someone very proud without meaning to. Somewhere in aim, a blonde person dressed like a transvestite pumped his fist in the air and exclaimed, "Yash!" Someone finally understood that art is an explosion, making his partner in crime to shake his head in exasperation. When would Deidara understand that art was eternal? Sasori wondered. Naruto decided to name his new clone variant as Bunshin Daibakuha, Great Clone Explosion. Naruto felt that this would come as a nasty surprise to anyone Ji was fighting with. Naruto then had set aside a couple of clones to work on controlling the degree of explosion he wanted to be caused by the exploding clone. By regulating the chakra used, Naruto also spent a lot of time practicing to seamlessly substitute with his shadow clones which were indistinguishable from him, even to the Sharingan, as his chakra was distributed evenly among them. Naruto also had a few ideas to battle the Sharingan and the Byakugan, but he didn't have the time to work on them at present, so he made a note to get back to them as soon as he had some free time. Naruto had also managed to master the henge seamlessly. It had not been much difficult as he was already very proficient in its use. It was while mastering the sealless version of the henge that Naruto realized that his henge was solid instead of being an illusion. Naruto created a solid construct of chakra in the shape of the target of the henge around himself, thereby making it solid. But it took him 10 times the chakra required for a normal henge. To pull it off, Naruto decided to keep it to himself for now, as it could be very useful in infiltration and information-gathering missions. Naruto had also mastered the basic henge, which was not at all difficult after mastering his unique solid henge. Now Naruto was working on mastering the basic illusion Bunshin learned in the academy. As Naruto finished his practice for his unique version of water walking and was getting back to resuming another session of physical conditioning instead of lying about as Anko-sensei had not arrived yet, he seamlessly substituted himself with a shadow clone as he felt something about to attack him. And he was proven correct when his clone caught a kunai thrown at him, and then his clone promptly substituted with a rock when the kunai turned out to be wrapped in an exploding tag. The original Naruto watched as the resulting explosion from the kunai destroyed the rock. The Naruto clone used the chakra pulse from the exploding tag as a cover to Shunshin behind Anko and kick her in the back. But she turned at the last moment, and caught his right leg which was about to make contact with her. But Naruto just swung his other leg at her head and she caught this too. Anko swung Naruto around by his legs and bashed him into the ground and said, "What will you do now, Gaki?" Naruto just smirked and said, "Boom." Anko's eyes widened as the Naruto in front of her suddenly exploded, and though she tried to substitute away, she was caught in the explosion a little, as she didn't think that Naruto knew that move. She had a few first-degree burns on her arms and legs, just as Anko sighed in relief at escaping the majority of the explosion. The original Naruto crashed into her from atop a tree using a chakra-enhanced double stomp to the top of head. Anko sensed him at the last moment, and used both her hands to block his kick. But the impact forced her to her knees. Naruto took advantage of this and kicked her in her stomach with a triple kick combo, and the blows were chakra-enhanced. Anko spit out saliva and some blood from the brutal kicks to her stomach, but she quickly recovered and suddenly disappeared and reappeared behind Naruto, aiming a kick at his head. Naruto, who sensed her, just shifted his head out of the way, and caught her leg and tried to swing her around. But she placed the palm on the ground for support, and instead used the leg Naruto caught in his hands to swing Naruto around and then launched him into a tree with a brutal kick to his stomach. Naruto crashed into the tree with a thud and spit out blood from the impact. He immediately substituted out of the way of the snakes she launched at him to hold and restrain him. But Anko sensed where he was substituting to, and was waiting for him with a brutal double kick to his torso which again launched Naruto into a tree. But Naruto had cracked his head on the tree and was feeling dizzy. As Naruto flew up from the impact, he started swaying as he was not feeling very steady on his feet. Anko caught him before he could fall again. Anko checked the back of his head and said, "You got a bump on your head, kid. I think you got a concussion. It's better to get it looked at immediately. No need to give a chance for complications to occur. I am taking you to the hospital, so that Shizen can have a look at it. Concussions are nasty things to deal with. Now hold on tight, kid. I am going to carry you to the hospital." You shouldn't use the shunshin when suffering from a concussion. Saying this, Anko picked up an embarrassed Naruto in a bridal carry and slowly walked to the hospital, making sure not to jostle him. All the while Naruto was hiding his blushing red face as best as he could as his face was pressed into her chest. Seeing Naruto's blushing face, Anko just shook her head and said, "You shouldn't feel embarrassed about such a small thing, kid. What if a kunoichi you are battling with suddenly removes her top to distract you? Will you cover your eyes and turn away? She will kill you immediately. Remind me to train you to resist seduction after you pass your genin exam." To Naruto's relief, they finally reached the hospital, and Anko took him to Shizen's office. Shizen was just finishing up some reports and about to go and have breakfast with Naruto. When Anko entered with Naruto in her arms, Shizen immediately got up and took Naruto from her arms and placed him on the bed in her room. "What happened to him? He looks to be feeling dizzy," Shizen directed her question to Anko. "Well, the gaki hit his head hard on a tree while he was sparring with me. He looks to have gotten a concussion. He was really dizzy, so I carried him here. There is a big bump on the back of his head," Anko replied. Shizen then saw that Anko also was sporting some superficial burns on her arms and legs. "How did you get injured?" Shizen asked, pointing to Anko's injuries. "Oh, the gaki got me by surprise. He used the exploding clone technique, and it caught me by surprise. By the way, I didn't know that you were going to teach him the exploding clone?" Anko asked. "What are you talking about? I didn't teach him the exploding clone. Even I didn't know that he knew the exploding clone technique. My guess is that Tsunade-sama taught him. She is the only one who could have taught him other than the both of us," Shizen answered Anko, while healing Naruto's concussion and the bump on his head, which was bleeding a bit. "Well, anyway, he caught me by surprise and got me with a few good blows. This is the first time in our spars that he has even landed a clean hit on me. The gaki is improving at an incredible rate. Anyway, how is he?" Anko asked, and Shizen could detect a note of pride in her voice at Naruto's progress. "He should be fine. He had a slight concussion, and I would recommend him to take rest for today. His clones can train, but I don't want him to train in any physically strenuous activities today. He should be completely fine by today evening. I have currently put him to sleep using medical jutsu. He will wake up in a few hours. I will take him to his house. You can direct his clones on what to train in and then take the day off," Shizen said to Anko. Anko just nodded in agreement and leapt out of the window to take some rest at her home as all three of her friends, Kurenai, Yugao and Hana, were out on missions. She decided to give Naruto's shadow clones in Training Ground 43 some tips on training before heading off. Meanwhile, Shizen had a shadow clone of hers take Naruto to his house and keep watch over him while he slept. A few hours later, Senju compound. With a tired groan, Naruto gradually opened his eyes and got up from his bed. He stretched his hands above his head and stretched his body till he heard a satisfying crack of his spine rearranging itself. The last thing he remembered was Anko taking him to the hospital and Shizen Nechan healing him. Now, he felt much better. He was no longer dizzy and he no longer felt any bump on the back of his head. Ash tried to feel for it with his fingers. Naruto was brought out of his musings by Shizen Nechan entering his room. She checked over Naruto's condition and said, "You are fine, Naruto. But I don't want you to do anything physically taxing today. You can work on your studies and chakra control training. Now I am going to dispel, as I am a shadow clone." Naruto nodded his head in understanding, as Shizen Nechan glared at him when he tried to protest that he fit enough to do physical training. Well, what Shizen Nechan said was better than full bed rest. I would have gone stir crazy. I guess that I can create a few shadow clones to work on chakra control training by sticking stones of various sizes and leaves to stick to various parts of his body. This will be much more difficult, as the different stones and leaves will have different weights and hence require different amounts of chakra to stick to various parts of his body at the same time. While that is going on, I can work on some few ninjutsu ideas I had, Naruto thought. Naruto created 5 shadow clones with but a thought, and 5 shadow clones appeared in a burst of smoke, which Naruto assumed was just excess chakra used in the jutsu, and Naruto was working on eliminating the smoke. But Naruto had a feeling that he would need to master more complex chakra control exercises before he could eliminate all the excess chakra he was putting into his jutsu, but he knew that would come with time and practice. Deciding to stop wasting time, Naruto directed the 5 shadow clones to work on mastering the new chakra control exercise he had thought of. As they left to work on their task, Naruto pulled out the book in which he worked on his Fuinjutsu designs, and started to write down his idea for an artificial supplementary chakra and neural network, which would help tremendously with his chakra control and also massively increase his reaction speed and reflexes, which were two very important components for the development of any shinobi. The supplementary chakra network would reduce the burden on his tenketsu to regulate his massive chakra reserves, by increasing the number of tenketsu present to regulate his chakra flow, while the supplementary neural network would function as extra nerves between the brain, spine and the various parts of the body, thereby massively increasing his reaction speed and reflexes and also increasing his senses very much. This would be like a version of the famed lightning elemental cloak of the Reikage of Kumo, which massively increases his reaction speed and strength. But Naruto's seal would only increase his reaction speed and reflexes and not his strength and speed. Naruto knew that this was going to be an extremely complex seal undertaking and would take at least a year to complete, but Naruto was determined to make it a reality. This would give him a massive edge over other shinobi. Naruto didn't intend to tell anyone about it, till he successfully accomplished it. His current studies on the human body and chakra system with Shizen Nechan in the hospital would prove to be very helpful in the development of this seal, so he was taking those studies very seriously. But Naruto needed access to higher-level Fuinjutsu books to make this seal a reality. But that would only be possible after he became a genin, so, for now Naruto just sketched some ideas that Naruto had for the design of the seal. This was something that Naruto enjoyed very much, as this was basically like puzzle solving for Naruto, something which he enjoyed very much. While Naruto had a clear idea of what he wanted to achieve, it was a constantly evolving concept, as he also wanted to incorporate a few elements into the seal which would serve as a body enhancement enchantment, which would optimize the working of all elements of a human body, like blood flow, immunity, bone density, muscle toughness, cardiac cycle, lung capacity, kidney function, etc. For all that to be possible, Naruto would have to have a thorough understanding of a human body, so Naruto decided to send a few shadow clones to the hospital every day after becoming a genin, to work on dead bodies in the morgue and also increase his skill in medical jutsu, which Shizen promised to teach him after he became a genin, and the rest of the day progressed in a similar fashion. Naruto wound down his work as it became dinner time and headed to the dining room and saw that Bachan and Nechan were already there, preparing dinner. Naruto washed his hands and greeted them both, as he sat at the dining table, and as the conversation flowed between them, about how their respective days went, the topic of Naruto's injury came up. "Oi brat! How is your head injury?" Tsunade asked. "I am all right. By the time I woke up, I was all well, but Shizen Nechan wouldn't allow me to physically work out for the rest of the day," said Naruto, pouting at having to sit inside the house for hours together. "Don't pout, brat. What Shizen did was correct. Concussions are complicated things. It is always better to be sad rather than sorry when it comes to head injuries. You can complicate them very easily if you don't take proper rest. But anyway, what did you do for the rest of the day, while sitting in the house?" Tsunade asked. As Naruto narrated the training he had undergone that day, both Tsunade and Shizen were very impressed with his idea of using small rocks of different weights and sizes along with leaves to stick to his body, using chakra while training, and using it as an advanced chakra control exercise. "Very good, Naruto. That is the sort of creative thinking one has to have. Your training and skill as a shinobi depends on how creatively you can use your skills and adapt your training to real-life situations. You should always be thinking up new ways to improve your skills, as stagnation leads to death in the ninja world," Shizen said. As everyone finished their dinner and were leaving for their respective rooms, Tsunade said, "Naruto, tomorrow you have an appointment with Inoichi in the afternoon. Don't forget and miss it. I want you to be there on time. It is very important that you come to terms with your past and get over it. It will make you stronger. You will have these sessions twice per week till Inoichi is satisfied with your progress. Do you understand?" Naruto nodded his head in agreement, and then headed over to his room to continue his chakra sensing practice, while his clones worked on some ninjutsu. Next day afternoon, Inoichi's office, hospital. Inoichi Yamanaka was going through the files of the psych evaluation of all the students in the current graduation class at the academy. This was something he had wanted to be made mandatory for all students of the graduating class, but the Sandaime had not implemented it despite repeated requests from him. One of the reasons for the denial was the pressure by the civilian council, as none of the civilian-born students had the mentality to become a shinobi nowadays. For that matter, almost none of the students, even those from shinobi clans, had the proper mentality of a shinobi. For example, in the graduating class of his daughter Ino, except Shino Aburame, no one had the proper mentality of a shinobi. His daughter Ino and Sakura Haruno were hardcore fangirls, Shikamaru was a lazy ass, Choji was too soft, Hinata was extremely shy and soft with a massive inferiority complex. Kiba was very easy to provoke and had a superiority complex. Sasuke was extremely power-hungry, had a massive superiority as well as an inferiority complex and a clear flight risk, and Naruto was fucked up in the head. Naruto should not have been allowed to become a shinobi before getting proper psychiatric help. Of all of them, Naruto was the only one who was trying to better himself. Inoichi was wondering how he had allowed his daughter to become an airheaded fangirl. He knew that he had spoiled her very badly. As she was his only child, he had never sat her down and told her the reality of the shinobi world and the things done by a shinobi in the name of his village. His wife Himiko was a special jounin before she retired, but even she, like him, never educated Ino in the reality of the shinobi world. Ino was their only child, as he had been poisoned on a mission after Ino's birth, and he could no longer have any more children, so both him and his wife spoiled Ino rotten. Her hanging out with Sakura and other civilian girls who were all fangirls also didn't help matters. The same was the case with both Shikamaru and Choji, as both their fathers had spoiled them, just like he had done with his daughter, as both Shikaku and Chozo were poisoned along with him on that mission. They had wanted to spare their children from the truth of the shinobi world and had wanted them to enjoy their childhood as long as they could. Inoichi was brought out of his musings when he heard someone knocking on his office door. He resolved to have a strict talk with Ino sometime soon, because she could die or something worse could happen to her on a mission, if she didn't start taking her shinobi training seriously. "Come in," said Inoichi to the person knocking on his door. As Inoichi saw Naruto entering his office, he felt a wave of guilt crash into him. Inoichi knew who Naruto's parents were. Minato and Kushina had been close friends of his as well as with Shikaku and Choza, and while he hadn't hated or mistreated Naruto, there was a lot he could have done to better Naruto's life, but he had never lifted a finger to help him. He could have told his daughter to become friends with Naruto. He had heard many times from Ino about how Naruto was struggling with his studies. He and his wife could have helped him very easily, but they hadn't. Hell, he hadn't ever even invited the child to his house for something as simple as Ino's birthday party, where she invited everyone in her class, except Naruto. Shikaku and Choza had also acted similarly to him, and had never ever lifted a single finger to help the orphaned son of Minato and Kushina. Thinking the situation of coming to conflict with the civilian council over them helping Naruto to be not worth the hassle, when the three clan heads together could have fended off the civilian council easily. He could only imagine what Kushina would do to them when they died. Inoichi felt a shiver down his spine as he got a terrible vision of beautiful red-haired woman with her hair risen behind her in the form of 9 tails and golden chakra chains coming from her back, skewering him with those chains. Inoichi shook himself from his musings, deciding to do better. After making Naruto sit on a couch, he began the session of psychiatric assistance that Naruto sorely needed. "So, tell me, Naruto, what did you see when you were trapped in the genjutsu cast by Shizen-san? And don't worry about any sort of judgment from my side. Everyone has their own fears. There is nothing to feel ashamed about. Now tell me what you saw that had you in such a state," Inoichi asked. Naruto took a fortifying breath and answered, "I saw visions of all the people I care about being near death, and they were blaming me for not saving them. The worst was the vision of them being killed by Sasuke, like the Sandaime was killed by Orochimaru. I know that the Sandaime had let Orochimaru run away when he could have killed him when he was caught doing illegal experiments on Konoha citizens, and then Orochimaru attacked Konoha and killed the Sandaime. I saw Sasuke attacking Konoha along with Orochimaru and killing all the people I care about, all because I hesitated in landing a decisive killing blow on him. This fear has been tormenting me for many days now." Naruto stopped talking and took a shuddering breath as he remembered the horrifying visions he saw, but Inoichi encouraged Naruto to keep talking and tell him everything, as he knew that the only way for Naruto to heal from the psychological trauma was if he came to terms with everything that happened to him. Naruto took a shuddering breath and continued, "I remembered my fight with Sasuke at the Valley of the End, and him piercing my chest with his Chidori. I remember Orochimaru arriving and stopping the Kyuubi's chakra from assisting me and then giving me his cursed seal. 2 times during that fight, I could have killed Sasuke, but I couldn't bring myself to do that. Inoichi allowed Naruto a few moments to collect his thoughts, and then asked, Naruto, may I ask why you couldn't bring yourself to kill Sasuke? He was a traitor after all. You yourself said that Sasuke had admitted to leaving Konoha with the Sound 4 on his own will? I couldn't bring myself to kill him. He might be a traitor, but the cursed seal was making him do all that. He is my friend and I gave my word to Sakura-chan that I would bring Sasuke back. What sort of a Hokage would I be if I can't even save one friend, huh? I gave my word to Sakura-chan and Naruto Uzumaki doesn't go back on his word, Naruto said stubbornly. Inoichi just shook his head in exasperation and said, first, the cursed seal doesn't make anyone do something they don't want to. It just whispers promises of power to you. Your sensei Anko has a cursed seal on her. You don't see her betraying the village and thrusting a lightning-covered fist through her friend's chest, do you? Sasuke left because he wanted power. He would do anything for power, even kill his own teammates. And you were never a friend to him. What even makes you think that you were his friend, Naruto? Did he ever help you? Did he ever congratulate you when you achieved anything before him? Or did he just get jealous? If you call someone who killed you twice a friend, then who do you call an enemy, Naruto? Sasuke will do anything for the power to kill his brother, even destroy Konoha, which means the destruction of all your precious people. What will you do then? Will you still call Sasuke a friend and say that he is just misguided? And Naruto, you earlier asked what kind of Hokage you would be if you didn't save a single friend? For your information, being a Hokage doesn't mean that you save a person who is traitor, whom you consider to be a friend. A Hokage has to send people out on missions that he knows they want return from. Sometimes that even includes people whom he considers friends or family. A Hokage has to put the village above anything else, even his family. The Sandaime made the same mistake with Orochimaru that you are making with Sasuke. Open your eyes, Naruto. Sasuke was never your friend. Konoha gave him everything he wanted. Your Jonin-sensei Kakashi neglected you and only trained Sasuke. He trained him in taijutsu, the use of his Sharingan, fire-style ninjutsu, the Chidori etc. He was treated like a prince by the villagers. Even all that didn't prevent him from betraying Konoha at the first opportunity he got. Naruto, you and Anko were treated like shit by the villagers for no fault of your own. But you both laid your life on the line many times for these same villagers who mistreated you. You never retaliated against them, and despite all the bad treatment meted out to you, you both never betrayed Konoha. Think, Naruto, is this the sort of person you want as a friend? Someone who would kill you without a second thought in his quest for power and vengeance. Don't waste your life in the pursuit to redeem him, Naruto. He is not worth wasting your life on. And Naruto, think before you answer my questions. I have noticed that you have an annoying tendency of shouting out your opinions. Take it from me. You should always think about the words you want to speak and their consequences before speaking them aloud. And also remember that people don't like those who shout out their opinions and thoughts. Talk slowly and concisely. Raising your voice never serves any purpose. Naruto opened his mouth to vehemently protest Inoichi's comments about Sasuke, but immediately shut his mouth as he engaged his brain and thought about all the things Inoichi had said, and he hated himself for admitting it, but he couldn't find anything wrong with what was said. As much as he wanted to defend Sasuke, the fact was that he was a traitor who had betrayed his village, a village whose people treated him like a prince and where he was handed everything he wanted on a silver platter. Naruto had never admitted it to anyone, but he had always been jealous of all the adoration showered on Sasuke and the times when Kakashi trained Sasuke alone, while he left Sakura and himself to work on their own, never even offering to teach them anything despite the many number of times Naruto had nearly begged him to train them. Kakashi had even ditched him during the month after the second round of the Chunin exams and had trained Sasuke during that month and had even taught him the Chidori, while he had pawned off his training to that useless pervert Ebisu, who was someone who hated Naruto due to the biju he held within him. Even though Jiraiya had trained him during that month, it mainly consisted of making him practice the summoning jutsu on his own while he peeked on women in the hot springs. Naruto still remembered the sheer dread he had felt when that pervert Jiraiya had pushed him down that ravine, leaving Naruto with no other option but to summon the boss toad using the Kyuubi's chakra. He had been lucky that the Kyuubi had allowed Naruto to use its chakra. Otherwise he would have been flattened on the ravine floor, and Naruto knew that people didn't like his overly loud and boisterous personality. But it had all been a part of his call for attention from people to pay attention to him, just like his pranks were. At that time he hadn't cared if the attention was positive or negative. That attention had provided respite to him from his lonely existence where his existence was ignored by everybody. Try as he might, Naruto could not deny the truth in Inoichi-san's words about his relationship with Sasuke, and so he just said sadly, "I know that Sasuke never considered me a true friend, but he was the first one among my classmates to even consider me a rival or something of that sort. Even though it was not a healthy relationship, I was content with any sort of relationship I could have. I will try to follow your advice, but it will take me time to cut off all ties with him and consider him just a traitor." "You are right. I don't want to repeat the mistake that the old man made with Orochimaru. The next time I meet Sasuke, I will give him exactly one chance to return to Konoha peacefully. If he refuses, then I will treat him like any other traitor and I will put him down." "Good, Naruto, you are using your brain. It is going to be hard trying to think about people you considered friends, however misguided that assumption might be, to be your enemies now. But you need to face the truth and come to terms with it," Inoichi said in a happy tone of voice, as he was happy that Naruto had finally opened his eyes to Sasuke's true character. He was sure that with a little bit of time and the loving care of Shizen and Tsunade-sama, Naruto would get over his fixation on his friendship with Sasuke. In a way, Inoichi was thankful for the genjutsu accident the previous day, as it had made Naruto experience all the negative incidents and feelings that he had been suppressing, and now Naruto was taking the words he had been telling him for the past few sessions more seriously. "Now let's wrap up this session for now. We will continue day after tomorrow, and Naruto, keep in mind what we discussed in this session, and try to implement them in your life," Inoichi said. As it was time for his next appointment, Naruto bade goodbye to Inoichi-san, as he went on his way to his cave in the mountains and continued his new physical workout routine in the cave, while his clones worked on chakra control exercises, especially the new one he had created recently, of sticking stones and leaves of various sizes and weights to various parts of his body. Naruto had finally perfected walking on water, and now he was making his clones try improvising it by making them try to skate on water using only his chakra, while he sparred with his clones for an on water, so that it became something he could do subconsciously, and no longer needed to pay any specific attention in order to be able to walk, run and fight on water. His goal was to be able to fight on water, as well as he could fight on land. 2 days later, Inoichi's office. Naruto was back in Inoichi's office for his session, and was waiting for Inoichi to start their session. Truthfully speaking, Naruto was dreading this session as he remembered how the last session went the day before yesterday. He had gotten his whole belief system shook. He was fearing what today's session might entail. He had still not come to terms with his revelations regarding his so-called friendship with Sasuke. "Friendship my ass," Naruto scoffed internally. Inoichi entered his office and saw Naruto waiting for him. He took a seat and addressed Naruto, saying, "Okay Naruto, you are here. Good. Today we will evaluate your relationship with everyone you know, just like we evaluated your relationship with Sasuke in our previous session. Let's start with your relationship with your other teammate Sakura. I will ask you questions and you will give me your honest answers. And don't try to give me false answers in hopes of showing someone else as a bad person." "Okay, then let's start this," said Inoichi. "So, how do you feel about Sakura Haruno?" asked Inoichi. Naruto immediately blurted out, "Sakura-chan is super beautiful and super nice. I love her." "Really Naruto? When was the last time she was nice to you, except when she wanted something from you? Like the time she used your liking for her to make you promise to bring back Sasuke, even though she knew that Sasuke was a traitor? Did she even inquire about how your health was when you were in the hospital? Did she ever congratulate you when you achieved something? Did she ever thank you for helping her or for encouraging her? Answer me truthfully, Naruto," Inoichi asked seriously, as from what he saw, Naruto was basically in an abusive relationship with Team 7, and he wanted Naruto to get out of it. That team itself should never have been constituted. From what he knew, the Sandaime was against the composition of that team, but Kakashi had emotionally blackmailed him into letting him train the last loyal Uchiha and his sensei's son, and among them he had clearly favored the Uchiha, while using Naruto as a stepping stone to keep Sasuke happy and trained him in everything he wanted, and Sakura was the classic definition of an abusive girlfriend. constantly assaulting Naruto whenever he said anything, and only being good to him when she wanted something from him. Inoichi wanted Naruto to realize this truth and cut all ties with Team 7. Naruto put on his thinking face and thought over all his interactions with Sakura since their time in the academy, and realized to his horror that he had deluded himself into thinking that Sakura was even his friend. She had never even treated him like a human being. Choking back a sob, Naruto said, "You are right, Inoichi-san. Sakura was never good to me. When I was on Team 7, if I ever learned anything before Sasuke, on the only occasion that Kakashi-sensei trained us as a team, instead of solely training Sasuke, which was the tree walking exercise, she would berate me saying that I was trying to look cool like Sasuke. She has never congratulated me or even wished me good luck. She never even thanked me for the number of times that I had saved her life while on missions. She even had the gall to congratulate and thank Sasuke for defeating Gaara during the invasion, when it was me who defeated Gaara and saved both Sakura and Sasuke. She has not even asked me how I was feeling after getting out of the hospital. She never even visited me in the hospital. It has been nearly a month since that disastrous mission, and the only time she came to see me was to tell me that we would not give up on Sasuke, and that we would bring him back. She never even inquired how I was doing. Naruto, I am glad that you finally realized the truth of your relationship with Sakura. Now, tell me, why did you start obsessing over Sakura? At first, it was because I had saved her from some bullies and she said that we were friends. This was a few days before we joined the academy, mind you, but after joining the academy, when I tried to talk to her, happy that I had a friend in my class, she refused to even talk to me, saying that her mother had told her to avoid me, saying that I was bad. I initially respected her wishes and left her alone, but when I saw her making many friends and becoming popular, I thought that if I could make a popular girl her like me, then maybe the other villagers would also eventually like me. I now know that I was foolish, but at that time I would have done almost anything to alleviate my loneliness. But I guess to Sakura, I was just a convenient punching bag she uses to make herself feel better and nothing else, said Naruto, in a slightly depressed voice. Inoichi nodded his head in understanding and said, "Now, let us talk about your Jounin-sensei, Kakashi. Tell me your thoughts about him." Naruto's face scrunched up in anger, as he said heatedly, "I hate that man. He is no sensei of mine. The only thing he ever taught me was tree walking. In the 6 months I spent on his genin squad, I have seen him training Sasuke privately, while he utterly neglected to train me and Sakura, and while Sakura was perfectly happy to not train. I can't remember the number of times I had begged the man to train me, but he always sidestepped my requests, saying that my basics were not strong, but he never tried to correct them. He taught a number of fire jutsu ans, also his personal creation, the Chidori, to Sasuke, who already had a clan library full of jutsu, while he didn't teach me, an orphan with no other resource other than his Jounin-sensei, to learn the shinobi skills, Jack's hit, and whenever any dispute happened on the team, he seemed to blame me for it. Even though it was started by Sakura and Sasuke, he never interfered when those two were abusing me, but the moment I tried to retaliate against his precious Sasuke, I would be reprimanded by him and beaten into the ground by Sakura. Even when I qualified for the final round of the Chunin exams, he pawned me off to Ebisu for training, knowing that Ebisu hated me. That idiot Ebisu made me walk on boiling hot water, without even explaining the concept behind water walking. When Sasuke attacked with the Chidori on the hospital rooftop after Tsunade Bachan healed him, I defended myself by forming a Rasengan in my hand. Kakashi arrived at that moment and took away Sasuke with him, while he scolded me for using the Rasengan on a comrade, and said that Jiraiya should not have taught me an A-ranked jutsu, all the while ignoring the fact that he had taught Sasuke an A-ranked assassination jutsu. I have never met a bigger hypocrite than him. He always says that those who break the rules are trash, and those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash, but seems to have no issues with abandoning his other two students, and clearly favoring his precious Uchiha. The man didn't even visit me once, when I was in the hospital. As Naruto calmed down after his rant about Kakashi, and took a few calming breaths, Inoichi pondered over Naruto's words and came to the conclusion that he would have to talk to Tsunade-sama about removing Naruto from Team 7, after he passes his genin test. As it seemed to be a very unhealthy environment for Naruto, Inoichi was sad to see that he was right when he recommended to the Sandaime about the disaster waiting to happen. That was the composition of Team 7 and Kakashi not being suitable to be a Jounin-sensei. "Okay Naruto, let's talk about your relationship with the Sandaime. Now, describe your relationship with the Sandaime? Asked Inoichi. I used to consider him my grandfather in all but blood. I used to think that he also loved me like his own grandson, but I have seen how he treats Konohamaru. What he had for me was not love, but just pity. Do you know the number of times I complained to him about how the academy instructors were treating me? I have lost count, but he never took it seriously, even when I told him that the academy instructors were sabotaging my test scores. When I asked him for help in my shinobi training, he never helped me, saying that it would be favoritism if he helped me. I don't get what he was trying to say. Everyone has parents or guardians to train them outside the academy. If the academy instructors don't help them, he was the only one I had. There would have been no favoritism even if G helped me. All clan children get outside training from their clansmen. I have even seen the Sandaime train his grandson Konohamaru. On occasion, I guess his rule of not allowing favoritism doesn't apply to his grandson, who also has an elite tutor in Ebisu who is teaching him the shinobi arts even before he has graduated from the academy. Do you know the number of times I begged him to tell me why the villagers hated me? In the end it was a traitor who told me the truth. The Sandaime's justification for not telling me was that he wanted me to have a happy childhood. Ha! What happy childhood? Do you know that I spent an entire year living on the streets of Konoha, scavenging food from bins, just to survive? After the matron of the orphanage I used to live in had kicked me out on my 6th birthday. It was then that the Sandaime first found me and had the bright idea to let a 7-year-old child live on his own in a rundown apartment in the red light district. And I had to pay double the rent required to stay even in that shitty apartment. I had to pay double the actual price to buy anything in Konoha, and that too in the only shops that used to sell me anything. As most of the shop owners just used to kick me out, the Sandaime knew all that and he never lifted a finger to help me, saying that those were all civilian matters. He was the Hokage, damn it. Konoha is a military dictatorship. He could have easily helped me if he had the balls to do what was necessary. And then he used to act as if everything would be okay if he buyed me a few bowls of ramen a week. So, to me the Sandaime was an old man who had good intentions but didn't have the balls to help me when he could have done a lot, said Naruto. This was something that Inoichi agreed with, as he knew that the Sandaime had not done all he could have done to ensure a happy life for Naruto. But he also agreed with Naruto that in his second term as the Hokage, the Sandaime was just a tired old man who had done the best he could with all the opposition he had faced from the civilian council, which had usurped a lot of power in the aftermath of the Yondaime's death and had opposed any plans to make Naruto's life at least a little easier, and they were supported by Danzo and the two elders Hamura and Koharu, who wanted Naruto under Danzo's control. If they had pulled this bullshit during the Sandaime's first term, he would have executed them all. But he was not in a position to do anything of that sort in the aftermath of the damage done to Konoha during the Kyuubi attack. He knew that the Sandaime had genuinely considered Naruto as his grandson, but now that he thought about it, the Sandaime would never have allowed his own grandson to be treated like Naruto was treated. From there, the topic moved forward to his classmates, and it was safe to say that Naruto didn't have anything good to say about any of his classmates. They are clearly not my friends. None of them even had the decency to see how I was doing in the hospital. Not even Shikamaru, who was the team leader during the Sasuke retrieval mission, checked in on me to find out my condition. I know that he had sat outside of Choji's room for nearly an entire day, till he found out that he was out of danger. But he couldn't spare even a few minutes to visit me in the hospital. It is clear to see that he didn't consider me a friend, like I considered him. All the rookies had been discharged from the hospital before me, but none of them visited me in the hospital, or even talked to me after I was discharged and was removed from the shinobi forces. None of them even offered to help me. Even Hinata spent hours together looking after Niji, a person who nearly killed her, but couldn't spare a few minutes to check in on me, a person who fought to avenge her injuries. Kiba even had the gall to try to insult me about my demotion from the shinobi forces. Even Lee, whom I used to respect a lot, didn't visit me, even though it was me who convinced Tsunade Bachan to come back to the village and heal him. Kakashi and Sasuke, I was the one, along with Shikamaru, who stopped Gaara from killing Lee when he was in the hospital after the preliminaries after the second round, so it is easy to say that I don't consider them my friends any longer. You know what is funny, now that I think about it? For all that I consider them my friends, I don't remember any one of them ever inviting me to hang out with them, or even invite me to their birthday parties, to which they used to invite the entire class except me. I don't know if it was due to their parents not wanting the Kyubi Jinchuriki in their house, or if they themselves didn't want my presence at their birthday parties. I don't know. Hell, not one of them even used to want their lunch with me. You won't believe the number of times I had cried myself to sleep, thinking about the times all my classmates used to spend time together with each other while playing or just hanging out, while I was always excluded from everything and treated like a leper. If these people are supposed to be my friends, then I don't know what enemies look like. They are fellow Konoha shinobi to me. Nothing more, said Naruto with a sneer on his face, at the very thought of his so-called friends. Inoichi felt a little uncomfortable at this admission of Naruto, as his daughter was also one of those classmates whose behavior Naruto had just described. Moving on, Naruto, I want you to describe your relationship with Tsunade-sama and Shizen-san? Well, Tsunade-bachan is like what I always imagined my mother would be like. She would have loved me dearly but would also have kicked my ass if I did something idiotic, you know. Tsunade-bachan and Shizen-chan are two people who have always been honest with me. From the moment I met them, they have done more for me in the past few months I have known them than most people have during my entire life. Those two people are my family. They never had any obligation to help me, but they have helped me in every way that they can. Shizen-chan is my elder sister. That is all there is to say about that relationship. You don't know how much their support meant to me in this time of turmoil. For me, they treat me like an adult, presenting all the available options to me and letting me decide on the things that affect my life. You know, Tsunade-bachan gave me her grandfather, the Shodai Hokage's necklace, which was worth 2 mountains of gold, just because she believed in me. I think that she is the first person along with Shizen-chan and Anko-sensei to believe in me to achieve my goals. All the others whom I know always gave me the feeling that they were just humoring me. Basically, according to me, Tsunade-bachan and Shizen-chan along with Anko-sensei are family. I would do anything for them. Inoichi knew that Naruto would keep his word on that, as he saw that same steely look in his electric blue eyes that he had seen in the Yandame's eyes before he headed to a battle. Inoichi knew that Naruto would burn down the world for those three. Who all are the other people whom you consider close to you, Naruto? Describe your relationship with them to me? The only 2 other people whom I consider close to me are Tochi Ajisen and I am Nechan of the Ichiraku ramen stall. They found me one day when I was living on the streets and trying to search for food in a bin behind their stall. I am Nechan bathed me and fed me. Even though they lost a few customers because I came to their stall to eat, they still fed me free of cost for nearly 6 months. When I tried to leave so that they would not lose income, they just said that helping an innocent harmless child was worth a lot more than some money to them. They fed me a lot of times free of cost even after the Sandame gave me an apartment and an allowance, as I had to buy groceries at nearly double the cost from the few shops that sold goods to me. I don't think that I will ever be able to repay my debt to them. Where the whole village saw a demon getting its just desserts, they both saw an innocent little boy struggling to survive on the streets. Those both are my family. I also used to have a friend whom I used to call Tenny in the orphanage, but she was adopted a few days before the orphanage matron kicked me out. She was my first and only friend in the orphanage. She used to play with me and spend time with me, despite the warnings of the matron for all the children to stay away from me. I haven't seen her again. In fact, I can no longer remember her face and voice clearly. It has been nearly 8 years since I last saw her, said Naruto in a wistful tone. He still fondly remembered the shenanigans he and Tenny used to get up to in the orphanage. Usually Tenny was the one who used to drag him along on her shenanigans, but the matron of the orphanage only used to punish him if they were caught. But Naruto never minded that, as in his mind playing and spending time with his first and only friend was worth any punishment given to him by the matron. And what about Iruka, Naruto? I thought that you were close to him, asked Inoichi. Iruka treated me just like the other teachers. Till my final year in the academy, he never noticed the other teachers screwing me over, including his assistant Mizuki. Even after he started treating me like any other student, he never helped me with my studies, only ever saying that I needed to work harder. He never helped me outside class, saying that it would be favoritism. He only ever saw me as a dobe with potential, said Naruto, making air quotes in the air at the word potential. He acted like he deserved a reward for treating me like a human being. Tell me something, Inoichi-san. Would you respect someone for treating you like a human being? Asked Naruto. Inoichi nodded his head in agreement at Naruto's assessment of his relationship with Irika, but he made a note of the friend in the orphanage that Naruto mentioned. HR noted down her name to search through the adoption records to see if he could locate her. It would do Naruto good to have another friend in his life. Inoichi saw the clock on the wall and said, "Sorry Naruto, but that's all for this session. I have to go to the AMBU headquarters. I have some work to do. Now I have something for you to do. I want you to maintain a diary and write all about your day, every day in that diary. And everything you write should be truthful. It will help you to come to terms with whatever happened to you on that day. As you write about it and analyze that event thoroughly, now you can go. We will meet again after your genin exam." Naruto bade his goodbye and exited the office, glad that the session was over, as it had been very emotionally draining for him, while he was very glad to get all his thoughts out there. Instead of agonizing over them himself, it was still emotionally draining to realize that the number of people who genuinely care about you can be counted on one hand. Well, at least he was feeling much better emotionally than he had been in some time since the time he had woken up in the hospital after the Sasuke retrieval mission. Naruto went to his personal training grounds in the hills, and went about his physical conditioning, as the intense physical activity would calm down his raging thoughts and give him focus. The rest of the day passed in similar fashion with him working on the physical side of things, while his shadow clones worked on his studies, ninjutsu and chakra control. 1 week later, Training Ground 44, Naruto leapt into the air to avoid a sweeping kick from Anko, and launched a kunai at her, and made a single hand seal and intoned kunai kage bunshin, making the single kunai multiply into 40 kunai. Anko exhaled a mighty gust of wind, scattering the kunai launched at her, and then launched a fireball at Naruto. Naruto instinctively substituted with a rock behind Anko and launched a kick at her spine, which she caught and tried to bash Naruto into the ground using that leg. But Naruto simply swung his other leg and delivered a sideways kick to her midsection, making her grunt in discomfort. Anko launched a few snakes from her sleeves at Naruto, and they squeezed him hard, only for him to burst into smoke, revealing him to be a clone. Anko suddenly tilted her head to the side, narrowly dodging a perfect Konoha senpu to her head, revealing Naruto, who immediately shunned shine behind her and attempted to cut the back of her knees with a kunai. He succeeded, but it turned out that the Anko whom he was fighting was also a shadow clone. Taking Naruto's surprise as an opportunity, Anko suddenly appeared behind Naruto at her full speed and caught his head in a chokehold, only for him to burst into an explosion, carrying Anko away and making her crash hard into a tree. The original Naruto appeared from behind a tree and approached the doomed Anko to make sure that she was alright, but suddenly found himself neck deep in the ground. With a kunai at his throat, Naruto looked closely and saw that Anko was only slightly injured and had used his concern for her against him. In his haste to make sure that she was alright, he had not used his sensory ability to check for any more clones waiting in ambush and had fallen for a trap. The real Anko casually rose from the place where she was acting like she was severely injured and walked towards the restrained Naruto and said, "And that, Naruto, is another lesson that you should always remember. Don't let your heart make decisions in a battle. Never take anything you see in a shinobi battle to be truth. Always double-check everything. Now, let's get you out of the earth." After pulling him out of the earth, Anko observed him and said, "Good going, Gaki. You were defeated handily. But you still didn't suffer from a single injury. I am impressed. So I am going to teach you a simple jutsu, the Kanashibari Jutsu, which temporarily paralyzes your opponent when you activate this jutsu while making eye contact with your enemy. This is a D-rank jutsu in its basic form, but the effectiveness of the technique depends on your chakra reserves and how much chakra you use. This jutsu revolves around the concept of impressing your chakra reserves over that of your opponent, making him paralyzed. This is a very useful jutsu, and while using on higher-ranked opponents, even if you could only paralyze him for a single second, that is all the time you need to kill an opponent in a shinobi battle. As a shinobi battle is all about speed, 1 second of carelessness leads to death. I want you to master this jutsu before the remaining week before your genin exam is over. We will also be working on training you to suppress your chakra signature, something that is very important. Your other fields of training are progressing very well. Your training weighs are at 120 for each leg, which is a very good improvement from where you were 3 weeks ago. You have mastered the Kawarini, the Henge and also the Illusion Bunshin. Your chakra control is very good for someone with your chakra reserves. your Bukijutsu training is also progressing well. You are able to hit the target with a 100% accuracy for both stationary as well as a moving target. You have mastered the Shadow Clone Jutsu as well as the Exploding Shadow Clone. Your progress with the Kanai Kage Bunshin is also impressive. It is safe to say that you are completely ready to pass your Genin exam. Use the next week to make sure that you are in tip-top shape and make sure that all your skills are sharp. Dedicate some shadow clones to practice the Kanashibari Jutsu, as it will come in handy. 6 days later, 195, 196, 197, 198, 199, 200. With a sigh of relief, Naruto flipped off from the roof, where he was attached via his legs using chakra and doing pull-ups over an open fire. He had finally finished 200 repetitions of each exercise and conditioning routine. He lay there in peace for a few minutes, letting his body rest from the physical exertion. He got up from his prone position on the ground of the cave he had started to use as his training ground and walked towards the small stream which flowed a few feet from the mouth of the cave, and dunked his head in the stream of cold water. The ice-cold water washed away all the exhaustion, and he raised his head from the water and shook it like a dog trying to dry its wet fur. As Naruto put on his clothes, as he had been exercising in just his boxers to avoid making his jumpsuit smell like sweat, he pondered over the progress he had made in the past month. He had increased the weights on his legs to 130 kilograms each. He had mastered all the 3 Academy Jutsu, now being able to do them without any hand seals and without any chakra wastage, i.e., no chakra smoke was released when the jutsu was used by him. He was still working on refining his use of the kawarimi, as he wanted to be able to replace himself with the kanai, but his chakra control would require further refinement before he could achieve that. He estimated that it would require another month of intensive chakra control training before he could possibly master that skill. He would need to master at least kanai balancing before he could work on that, but he still kept practicing that. But it was taking him too much time to perform such a substitution, so it was not useful in battle, and it was wasting chakra. He had finally managed to form a single sealless illusion clone. He had also managed to perform the Kanai Kage Bunshin Jutsu seallessly, and Tsunade Bachan had beaten into him to not shout out the name of his jutsu, as it didn't make any difference if you didn't shout out the name of your jutsu, other than alerting your enemy of your next move. Tsunade Bachan had beaten into his head 5 rules of combat, which she called Tsunade's rules of combat. They were: 1. Always attack first. 2. Never let your opponent catch his /her rhythm in a fight. Never surrender the initiative to an enemy in a fight. 3. Don't shout out the names of your moves. 4. And don't stand around watching to see if your jutsu worked. Move on to your next move. 5. There is no such thing as overkill in the shinobi world. Naruto had done his best to incorporate those rules during his combat training and spars with his clones as well as with Enko-sensei, or even with Shizen Nei-chan and Tsunade Bachan. Though sparring with Tsunade Bachan was just trying to avoid her mountain-breaking blows, at this point, as he was nowhere near even making Tsunade Bachan take him seriously in a fight. It was basically him trying to avoid getting kicked around, but he vowed to himself that he would defeat her one day. It was a great goal to work towards. The practice of the Kanashibari Jutsu was also coming along nicely. Enko-sensei had him working on it on the animals on the Forest of Death. According to her, he could successfully use it on any genin-level opponent. He was still trying to improve its usage. As far as genjutsu detection was concerned, he could now immediately detect a genjutsu being cast on him, and could dispel any genjutsu below B rank with ease. His poison resistance training with Shizen Nei-chan was also progressing well. According to Shizen Nei-chan, his sensory range had increased to 400 m. He could now sense individual chakra signatures and the level and nature of their chakra. Overall, Naruto was very confident in his ability to pass the genin test. Naruto intended to spend today and tomorrow solely on physical conditioning, while his shadow clones worked on revising everything needed for the exam. Night before the genin exam, Naruto had winded down his preparations for the genin exam and was on his way to dinner, so that he could catch a good night's sleep before the day of the exam. To make sure that he was suitably rested, Naruto found both Shizen Nei-chan and Tsunade Bachan already waiting for him in the dining room. "What are you both doing here this early? Don't you have work?" "Well, Naruto, I wanted to know how you were feeling for your exam, so I came home early and brought Shizen with me. So, answer me honestly, how are you feeling?" asked Tsunade. I am very confident in my chances to pass the Genin exam. I have never been more confident in anything. Shizen Nachan and Anko-sensei have made sure that I have mastered everything that I need to pass the exam. I am actually more than ready to pass the exam. I was not this strong even when I participated in the Chunin exams, said Naruto, with a soft smile on his face. This was something that both Naruto and Tsunade had both noticed. Naruto's exuberant personality had become a lot more controlled and his smiles were no longer those beaming rays of sunshine. But they found these new soft smiles of his to be more genuine, and appreciated them a lot more, as they felt more heartfelt. Well, Naruto, you should report to the Hokage's training ground at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And don't be late, said Tsunade. Naruto quickly finished his dinner and meditated for an hour before turning to bed.